Chapter 3052. Jianqin immediately paled. His final sliver of hope and anticipation vanished as well. He did not care about Shui Yinlan's fate, but Shui Yinlan was the only person who knew about his sister's whereabouts. Now that Shui Yinlan had been captured, the whereabouts of his sister, Changyang Mingyue, would naturally be exposed. After all, the chaotic prime who had captured Shui Yinlan was a peak expert who was a mid-grand prime at the very least. Moreover, the mid-grand prime was only a conservative estimate of the ancestor. Probably even the ancestor was uncertain whether the person who had erased the traces was a mid or late grand prime. Peak experts like them all possessed extraordinary abilities and possessed various abilities. Before an expert like that, Jianqin could not guarantee that Shui Yinlan would be able to keep her secret. At that moment, Jianqin became panicked. He became rather flustered. In his mind, the figures of all the experts he had interacted with appeared, one after another. The Wind Venerable, the first majesty of the heavenly palace of Bixing, Mo Tianyin. He could only think of these three people who could resolve the crisis before him. After all, this matter involved mid-grand primes. Even the martial soul lineage might not be able to deal with it. However, Mo Tianyin remained elusive among the three of them. He could not contact him at all. Moreover, even if he managed to contact Mo Tianyin, he was not certain whether Mo Tianyin would be able to help. After all, a mid-grand prime had covered up all traces of the person, yet he had fished someone out of the vast ocean. Accomplishing this had nothing to do with a person's battle prowess. It depended on their abilities and abilities. At the very least, even an expert like the ancestor was helpless against it. As for the first majesty of the heavenly palace of Bixing, Jianqin directly rejected her. He knew that the chances of getting the first majesty to help him were zero. In the end, the only person he truly found reliable was the Wind Venerable. However, the Wind Venerable's breakthrough had not been complete. Although he had successfully fused with the membrane of the world, he had not grasped the power of a grand exalt. Moreover, the Wind Venerable had said on the nameless planet that it was not suitable for him to take action before he grasped the power completely. As a result, although he thought of the Wind Venerable, Jianqin was still worried. He did not dare to actually ask the Wind Venerable for help. He did not know whether his sudden interference would cause any irreversible effects on the Wind Venerable's grand exalt power. Jianqin sat down in the snow. The only three peak experts he could think of were unable to take action for various reasons. He worried about his sister's life, which made him feel helpless. The ancestor seemed to see Jianqin's worry. After a moment of thought, she said, "You don't need to worry. Although I can't find any traces, there's someone who might be." "Who?" "Ancestor. Tell me, who is that person?" "He fangs of ancestor of the world, of the ancestor of course, of the ancestor of the world." Only then did he see the ancestor's appearance. In terms of appearance, the ancestor of the Lan family was not very old. She was only a young woman in her early 20s. She was very beautiful, just like her heavenly voice. Her delicate features were perfect, as if they had been born from the world. She was like a piece of jade that had been nurtured by nature. No one could find any flaws in her at all. However, Jianqin's head was filled with worry for his sister. No matter how beautiful the ancestor of the Lan family was, she was unable to enter his heart. Even if I tell you who that person is, you might not be able to get him to take action. However, he needs my help, so I can only step forward. Let's go. Let's return to the Tianhe clan first and wait for that person's arrival," said the ancestor of the Lan family. With a wave of her sleeve, she and Jianqin immediately vanished. Jianqin was arranged to stay in a courtyard specially used to receive esteemed guests in the Tianhe clan. A white feather shot through the air silently on the flying snow peak. It flew past most of the Tianhe clan and directly entered an icy palace in the end. It stopped before a ruddy old man. The old man was called Hiigue, one of the great elders of the Tianhe clan. Although they were both great elders, his status was much higher than He Qianqi's. He was an 8th heavenly layer chaotic prime, and he had grasped the laws of space. He Igwe, take my personal letter and hurry to the 5-point sect on the star brilliance plane. Personally hand the letter to the point cloud venerable. The ancestor of the Lan family's voice rang out from nowhere. Yes, Ancestor Lan. He Igwe respectfully said. He respectfully took the letter personally written by Ancestor Lan. When the letter fell into his hands, his body disappeared without a trace. Not long after He Igwe left, in the flying snow peak where Ancestor Lan was cultivating, outside the divine palace where Ancestor Lan was concocting pills, He Qianqi bowed respectfully toward the closed door of the palace. He Qianqi greets Ancestor Lan. He Qianqi, did Yang Yutian ask you about the ice goddess hall in the past? The ancestor of the Lan family's voice rang out from the alchemy room. The door to the alchemy room was tightly shut, so He Qianqi could only stand outside. His slightly hunched figure was drowned out by the wind and snow. Yes, Ancestor Lan, repeat your entire conversation to me without missing a single word, said the ancestor of the Lan family. The ancestor of the Tianhe clan was a supreme existence. As a result, He Qianqi dared not turn down any of the ancestor's requests, nor did he dare to ask for a reason. He could only obey unconditionally. Afterwards, He Qianqi followed the ancestor of the Lan family's orders and recounted the entire conversation he had with Jianqin about the ice goddess hall without missing a single word. After listening to He Qianqi's narration, the alchemy room fell into a temporary silence. After a while, the ancestor of the Lan family's voice rang out slowly, you can leave. Remember, don't mention anything you say today to anyone else. He Qianqi left the flying snow peak. In the alchemy room, the extreme frost ice flame was still burning. Ancestor Lan sat cross-legged in the void, facing the cauldron in front of him. His sapphire-like blue eyes flickered with a soul-stirring chill. On the other side, Igwe hurried towards the star brilliance plane as quickly as he could. He directly revealed his cultivation as an 8th heavenly layer chaotic prime. With that strength, he basically had priority when using teleportation formations across planes. He first used teleportation formations to move between planes. Whenever he arrived on a plane, he would use the laws of space to reach the next location. After a few transfers, he finally arrived on the star brilliance plane in the shortest amount of time possible. He immediately arrived at the 5-point sect and personally handed the ancestor of the Lan family's letter to the point cloud venerable. In the 5-point sect, the point cloud venerable personally received He Igwe. When he received the feathery letter from He Igwe, he immediately beamed with joy. Your Tianhe clan's ancestor Lan has finally agreed to refine the cauldron of pills for old man find someone? No problem. As long as Ancestor Lan is willing to refine the cauldron of pills for old man, let alone one person, old man will agree even if you find 10 or 100 people. Chapter 3053. Jianqin could only trust the ancestor of the Tianhe clan. Under the ancestor's arrangements, he stayed in a courtyard by himself as he waited for the ancestor's news. The inside and outside of courtyard was filled with falling snow, piling up a thick layer on the ground. All kinds of decorations made of sparkling and translucent ice were arranged around the courtyard. Under the rays of the warm sun, they reflected a 7-colored halo, which was very dazzling. However, Jianqin was in no mood to admire the unique scenery that belonged to the ice pole plain. As he waited, each day felt like a year to him. This was the first time he felt time pass so slowly. Shui Yunlan has only just been captured. Even if she's controlled, she'll probably need some time to spit out where my sister is hiding. As a result, my sister's hiding place won't be exposed so quickly. I have to remain calm. Jianqin walked through the snowy courtyard without leaving a single trace behind. He paced around uneasily as he constantly tried to console himself. This was because he knew that no matter how much he panicked, it would be pointless. Suddenly, Jianqin raised his head and looked at the sky. His gaze was as sharp as a sword, as if it could pierce the sky and look at the boundless outer space. He was now a 9th heavenly layer infinite prime. His battle prowess was on par with chaotic primes, so his senses were extremely sharp. But at this moment he felt a monstrous demonic chi coming from the outer space, approaching the ice pole province at an extremely fast speed. Boom! Afterwards, a great sound rang out, which seemed to echo through the entire ice pole plane. The demonic aura from outer space directly slammed into the ice pole plane, smashing into the ground in the distance with a tremendous pressure. Even Jianqin, who was in the depths of the Tianhe clan, felt like he had been struck by a bolt of lightning when he hit the ground. It's the heavenly demon religion. Jianqin's eyes lit up. He was not unfamiliar with this demonic aura. When he was in the cloud region, he had come into contact with it more than once. Surprisingly, it belonged to the heavenly demon religion. Moreover, his gaze pierced through the thick demonic chi and clearly saw a pitch-black divine temple hidden inside. It was as grand as a castle. When he saw the demon castle that was covered in demonic chi, Jianqin's eyes lit up. Back in the Delight Prefecture, Jianqin had joined forces with the heavenly demon religion to attack the #1 faction in the Delight Prefecture, the Cloud Surge Empire. Back then, the heavenly demon religion had activated a high-grade demonic fortress. At this moment, Jianqin could clearly see that the demonic fortress that had attacked the Delight province was exactly the same as the one that had appeared in the Ice Pole province. The heavenly demon religion has actually come to the Ice Pole province? For a moment, Jianqin was both surprised and excited. He faintly sensed that the heavenly demon religion's divine temple seemed to have descended in the direction of the Hoofing clan. Has the heavenly demon religion come all the way here to start a war with the Hoofing clan? Jianqin guessed. The heavenly demon religion had descended on the Ice Pole province with such great fanfare, so it naturally attracted the attention of all the factions in the Ice Pole province. For a moment, the area where the heavenly demon religion's divine temple was located was filled with countless strands of consciousness. All the experts in the Ice Pole province were paying close attention, but no one stepped forward to interfere with the heavenly demon religion. Within the Tianhe clan, Jianqin could not help but become restless. He was tempted to leave the Tianhe clan immediately and head to the heavenly demon religion to see if he could contact Mo Tianyin through the heavenly demon religion. The Point Cloud Venerable of the 5-Point sect has come to visit the Tianhe clan at Ancestor Land's invitation. However, at this moment, an old voice rang out from outside. Jianqin's eyes narrowed when he heard the Point Cloud Venerable. He thought, the Point Cloud Venerable of the Star Brilliance plane has actually come? Has Ancestor Lawn invited the Point Cloud Venerable of the 5-Point sect? The Point Cloud Venerable has come from afar. Please come in. At the same time, Ancestor Land's voice rang out from the 3 ancestral peaks. The protective formation around the Tianhe clan suddenly cracked open, and a wide path condensed from flying snow appeared in the sky. It stretched across the surroundings. This was a welcoming ceremony of the Tianhe clan. Only those who had reached a certain level of status could enjoy such treatment. Come to the flying snow peak immediately. Ancestor Land's beautiful voice rang out in Jianqin's ears. Jianqin had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Without any hesitation, he immediately flew towards the flying snow peak as quickly as he could. When he arrived at the flying snow peak, the Point Cloud Venerable had already arrived. He was with Ancestor Lawn. Jianqin was familiar with the name of the Point Cloud Venerable. Back on the Star Brilliance plane, he and Kea had been hunted down by the Elder of Mountains and Seas. They had been trapped in the heaven-obscuring barrier of floating water. In the end, it was the Point Cloud Venerable who secretly interfered and destroyed the barrier. Afterwards, when he went to the Aqua Plane to destroy the Gloomwater sect, It was all thanks to the Point Cloud Venerable's secret assistance that nothing unexpected happened when he destroyed the Gloomwater sect. Otherwise, once the other peak organizations above the Gloomwater sect interfered or stopped him, he would not have been able to destroy the Gloomwater sect so smoothly. However, he also understood that although the Point Cloud Venerable had assisted him in the past, Kaya's death was related to the Point Cloud Venerable to a certain extent. As a result, Jianqin always felt conflicted when he faced someone as important as the Point Cloud Venerable. Arriving on the flying snow peak, Jianqin finally saw the Point Cloud Venerable. This was the first time he had seen the Point Cloud Venerable in person. The Point Cloud Venerable seemed like a very ordinary old man. He wore white robes and his face was ruddy. He was brimming with vigor. Only his ancient eyes were as deep as the universe. Ancestor Lan, may I ask who this is? As soon as Jianqin appeared, the Point Cloud Venerable could not help but look at Jianqin. He stared at Jianqin's unfamiliar face and sensed his unfamiliar presence. He immediately felt rather doubtful inside. This was because his heart skipped a beat as soon as Jianqin appeared. He had a vague feeling that he had seen this person somewhere before. He's just a junior. There's no need to worry about him. Point Cloud Venerable. There's no time to lose. Let's go over right now. Ancestor Lan did not introduce Jianqin. She casually dealt with the Point Cloud Venerable before communicating with Jianqin. The Point Cloud Venerable has grasped the laws of time and the laws of space. When the two laws are fused together, he possesses mysterious abilities. It's said that he can move through the river of time, visiting the past and the future. The entire world will become transparent in his eyes. Don't say anything. Don't mention a single word, just in case the Point Cloud Venerable uses his abilities to divine something. There are some things that you can't let the Point Cloud Venerable know. Ancestor Lan seemed to be worried, so she communicated with Jianqin. Jianqin understood. He acted like nothing was wrong, and after bowing to the Point Cloud Venerable as a junior, he stood behind Ancestor Lan silently. Ancestor Lan brought Jianqin and the Point Cloud Venerable to the space outside the Ice Goddess Hall again. However, as soon as he saw the Ice Goddess Hall submerged in the snowstorm, the Point Cloud Venerable's expression immediately became unnatural. Ancestor Lan, you want old man to find someone. Is the person you're looking for connected to that place? The Point Cloud Venerable asked rather stiffly. You're worrying too much, Venerable. If he really is connected to that place, how could the Ice Pole province be so peaceful? Ancestor Lan said as usual, urging the Point Cloud Venerable to hurry up. The Point Cloud Venerable was doubtful, but he still moved. Chapter 3054. The way of light was like a river, illusory and hazy. It hung in the air, passing through the past and the future. As the Point Cloud Venerable walked through the river of time, everything that happened in the world and everything that happened there constantly appeared in his head like the pages of a book. Naturally, this included the Chaotic Prime who had fished away Shui Yinlan. Even though the Chaotic Prime had completely concealed his presence and wiped away all his traces, and he had a Grand Prime behind him to protect him, such that even an expert like the Lan Ancestor could not find him at all. The Chaotic Prime had completely concealed his presence. However, the various methods they used to erase his traces might have rendered many Grand Primes powerless, but it was not enough to fool the Point Cloud Venerable. In terms of strength, in terms of cultivation and comprehension, the Point Cloud Venerable naturally paled in comparison to the Lan Ancestor. However, in terms of ability to peer into things, the Point Cloud Venerable naturally possessed a unique advantage as he had grasped the laws of space and the laws of time. Heavy snow drifted through the sky as the Lan Ancestor hovered in the air silently. He was calm and indifferent. Jianqin stood behind the Lan Ancestor. He seemed extremely composed, but he was actually filled with unease inside. He had no idea whether the Point Cloud Venerable could successfully find the Chaotic Prime. I found it. Lan Ancestor, the old man has projected the scene with his ability, said the Point Cloud Venerable. Very soon, the Point Cloud Venerable's voice rang out. When Jianqin heard that, it was like music from the heavens. Jianqin's heart, that had always been in his throat, immediately became excited. In the next moment, the river of time suddenly expanded, immediately enveloping Jianqin and the Lan ancestor. In Jianqin's eyes, the snowy world he resided in immediately became illusory. The sky was still the same sky, and the scenery was still the same. The only difference was that the world before Jianqin had already existed in the past. The world he saw right now was the world of the past, and the time he resided in was also the time of the past. Suddenly, Jianqin's eyes narrowed. He saw the old man with the bamboo hat fly out of the ice goddess hall. He moved extremely quickly, disappearing with a flash. He did not leave behind any presence or pulses of energy. It was as if he had never existed. However, Jianqin saw the direction the old man had left in this time. Afterwards, the scene began to rewind rapidly. Under the Point Cloud Venerable's control, the scene followed the old man the entire time, tracking his whereabouts. In the end, the scene stopped before a mountain range shrouded in cold mist. Afterwards, it gradually blurred before vanishing very soon. Immediately, the world cleared up again. Jianqin exited the space of time and returned to reality. The Hefeng clan, the Lan ancestor murmured. Blue light flickered in his eyes, which were chilling. The Point Cloud Venerable turned around and looked at the Lan ancestor bitterly. He said, "Lan ancestor, the person you want the old man to search for has extremely great implications. My tiny Point Cloud sect cannot endure the storms of the Ice Pole province, so this is all I can help you with." The Lan ancestor clasped his fist and said, "Thank you for your trouble, Point Cloud Venerable. Please leave the ingredients behind. Once the pill is refined, I will get someone to inform you to come collect it." The Point Cloud Venerable immediately rejoiced when he heard that. However, he seemed to think of something soon afterwards, and he smiled awkwardly to this. "Lan ancestor, can you delay the matter of refining the pill for me? Originally, I'd gathered all the divine materials required to refine the divine pills a long time ago. However, a mishap occurred not too long ago, and it caused all the divine materials that I spent many years to gather with great difficulty to be destroyed. So, I still need some time to gather them once more." The Lan ancestor happily agreed to the Point Cloud Venerable's suggestion. Afterwards, he bid farewell to the Point Cloud Venerable and returned to the Tianhe clan with Jianqin. The Point Cloud Venerable did not stay for long either. He immediately left the Ice Pole Plain. The Point Cloud Venerable appeared in outer space of the Ice Pole province. He frowned slightly as he stared at the boundless continent floating in the vast space. He murmured, "Why do I feel a sense of familiarity with the person beside Ancestor Lan? Should the old man calculate, forget it. He's just a chaotic prime at most. Someone like that isn't worthy of the old man's attention. However, the person the Lan ancestor wants the old man to find is involved in great karma. It's very risky. That person has gone to the Hoofing clan. Perhaps it's related to the Hoofing clan. But the Hoofing clan is connected to a supreme expert like the Flame Reverend. Now, even the heavenly demon religion has been dragged into this conflict, sigh. The old man can't be dragged into the huge whirlpool that is the Ice Pole Plain. I wonder if I've sowed a seed of trouble for the Huayan sect by coming to the Ice Pole Plain for the cauldron of pills. You want to leave the Tianhe clan?" The Lan ancestor asked indifferently as he faced the cauldron in the alchemy room on the flying snow peak of the Tianhe clan. "I need to go to the Hoofing clan to save my good friend." Jianqin looked at the Lan ancestor's back with determination in his eyes. "You must know who the person behind the Hoofing clan is. So our Tianhe clan cannot help you with the matter of the Hoofing clan," said the Lan ancestor. "Of course I understand. I'm already extremely grateful that the Lan ancestor was able to get the Point Cloud Venerable to help me. I will deal with the matter of the Hoofing clan." Jianqin clasped his fist. Very soon, Jianqin left the Tianhe clan. Ancestor Lan, who sat before the cauldron in the air, stared in the direction of the Hufeng clan. He murmured, "The Hufeng clan no longer has any grand primes." Who was the person who concealed the heavenly secrets and erased all traces? The great elder of the Moon God Hall, Yun Wufeng, sat in a restaurant by himself in a medium-sized city on the ice pole plain. He ordered a few dishes and a few jars of fine wine. As he drank, he stared at the people on the streets outside in a daze. He was filled with deep loneliness and desolation. At this moment, the empty chair before Yun Wufeng pulsed, and Jianqin, who was still disguised as the sixth elder, appeared silently. "Have you found the person you're looking for?" Yun Wufeng asked. Jianqin nodded. He stared at Yun Wufeng sternly and said, "Senior Yin, are you afraid of offending the flame, Reverend?" Yun Wufeng glanced at Jianqin deeply and said, "If the old man was afraid of offending the flame, Reverend, he wouldn't have been trapped in the moon burial cave by Nan Patian. He wouldn't have dealt with you Wuguang and the others either. The flame Reverend is indeed terrifyingly powerful. Everyone on the ice pole plain fears him, but not everyone is afraid of death." Chapter 3055. I've already found traces of the chaotic prime with the bamboo hat. "He's gone to the Hufeng clan," said Jianqin. "The Hufeng clan? That's the organization that ranks fourth on the ice pole plain. In the past, they were a towering tree that our moon god hall could only look up to. However, it's said that all the ancestors of the Hufeng clan have died. The strongest people in the Hufeng clan right now are just a few great elders who are chaotic primes. However, Old Man has already broken free from the shackles of the moon god hall. He's all alone now. He doesn't even fear offending the flame Reverend. So why would he care about a mere Hufeng clan? Let's go." "Old Man will go with you to the Hufeng clan," said Yun Wufeng. He was extremely carefree, as if he had already accepted life and death. He truly did not fear anything. So what if it was the Hufeng clan? So what if it was the flame Reverend? At most, he would just die. When a person accepted life and death and no longer feared death, or even prepared to die at any time, there would naturally be nothing in the world that could defeat them. Clearly, Yun Wufeng was in a similar state. Jianqin knew that the changes in the Moon God Hall had dealt quite a heavy blow to Yun Wufeng, but he did not console him. This was because no amount of consolation would work on something like this. He could only overcome it himself. Jianqin and Yun Wufeng immediately set off. With their speed as chaotic primes, they arrived at the Hufeng clan very soon. However, an intense battle was currently taking place there. An extremely huge demonic fortress stood there, radiating with demonic aura. Cultivators who radiated with demonic aura flew out from the demonic fortress, one after another. They formed a formation and rushed towards the Hufeng clan. A powerful formation pulsed in the forest where the Hufeng clan resided. Layer after layer of formations merged together, forming a powerful protective barrier to protect the Hufeng clan. Outside the formations, the many experts of the heavenly demon religion and several powerful armies launched vicious attacks against the formations of the Hufeng clan. Immediately, deafening booms rang out constantly. Violent ripples of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings, sinking the ground and destroying countless forests. Jianqin and Yun Wufeng concealed their presences and hid in the distant space carefully. They watched the battle from 100 kilometers away. Now, all the experts of the Hufeng clan hid in the formations, while the experts of the heavenly demon religion attacked the formations violently. As they depleted the energy of the formations, they used various methods to get through them. The 4 balls of light in the sky were the most dazzling. A figure flickered in every single ball of light. Their presences were so powerful that they were all late, chaotic primes. Jianqin looked at the 4 balls of light in the sky and recognized them with a single glance. They were the Cloud Demon, Blood Demon, Wind Demon, and Blade Demon of the 5 war generals of the Empyrean demon cult. Jianqin also saw the commander of the 7th Army of the Heavenly Demon Religion, Yaxi Lian, on the other side. Jianqin could not help but think back to the past when he was still in the Pingtian Empire. He sighed inside when he thought about the various matters that had happened between him and the commander of the 7th Army. In the past, when he encountered Yaxi Lian for the first time, he did not even have the ability to flee. If it were not for Fairy Haoyue's timely assistance, the outcome would have been unthinkable. But now he had become an expert who could kill chaotic primes. On the other hand, although Yaxi Lian's strength had increased slightly compared to the past, she was still a divine king. Yaxi Lian's appearance made Jianqin think of Fairy Haoyue involuntarily. He immediately became gloomy. The Hefeng clan is probably done for this time. The Heavenly Demon Religion seems to be attacking the formations of the Hefeng clan with their full strength, but it's only a method to divert their attention. A portion of the Heavenly Demon Religion has already silently cast down formations around the Hefeng clan, and these formations seem to be some kind of extremely powerful, sacrificial, demonic formation. Yun Wufeng stared at the battlefield sternly. As an outsider, he could tell the true intentions of the Heavenly Demon Religion with a single glance. It looks like the Heavenly Demon Religion isn't just trying to destroy the Hefeng clan. The protective formations of the Hefeng clan are nowhere near as powerful as they used to be. It's said that the formations of the Hefeng clan used to be able to block attacks from 6th Heavenly Layer Grand Primes, but now they can probably even get through 1st Heavenly Layer Grand Primes easily. Yun Wufeng sighed emotionally. Was the great organization that once ranked 4th on the ice pole plane about to be destroyed today? Afterwards, Yun Wufeng looked at Jianqin and said, "Sir, the Heavenly Demon Religion is attacking the Hefeng clan right now, so we probably can't take part. Otherwise, if the Heavenly Demon Religion treats us as part of the Hefeng clan, we won't have a good end. Some of the experts of the Heavenly Demon Religion are much more terrifying than you, Wu Guang." Jianqin said nothing. He stared at the Heavenly Demon Religion's camp, and the light in his eyes flickered. After a moment of silence, he said, "Senior Yin, please keep an eye out for the hooded expert we saw in the Ice Goddess Hall that day. Once you discover his tracks, please keep him busy for me." "Where are you going?" Yun Wufeng stared at Jianqin in surprise. "I'm looking for reinforcements." With that, Jianqin flew off. He used the laws of space to hide himself as he silently approached the demonic castle. Very soon, he arrived before the demonic castle. However, his appearance and presence had changed once again. He had become one of the divine kings of the Heavenly Demon Religion. The entrance to the demonic castle was still wide open. Many cultivators poured out from inside. Jianqin used his identity as a cover to enter the Heavenly Demon Religion's demonic castle without any obstructions. Very soon, Jianqin arrived in a remote corner of the demonic castle and began to summon its artifact spirit. As a high-quality god artifact, the demonic castle naturally possessed an artifact spirit. However, after a while, Jianqin received no response at all. With no other choice, his presence immediately changed. As soon as his presence changed, a powerful pressure immediately descended. It enveloped Jianqin with a devastating demonic aura. The artifact spirit of the demonic castle immediately discovered an outsider who had snuck into the castle. "It's me. I'm on the same side. I want to see the Grand Elder." Jianqin immediately took out a medallion. The medallion gave off a dense demonic aura. The unique presence within it immediately caused the surrounding powers of the demonic castle to come to a halt. At the same time, on the highest floor of the demonic castle, a black-robed old man stood with his arms behind his back. There was a huge mirror before him, and the battlefield between the Heavenly Demon Religion and the Hefeng clan was displayed in the mirror. The old man gave out orders one after another as he personally oversaw the battle. The old man was the Grand Elder of the Heavenly Demon Religion, Chengming. Not only had he successfully reconstructed his body, but he had even become a Grand Prime. Suddenly, Chengming's face changed. He was surprised. Jianqin? Why is he here? Send him to the old man. With that, demonic aura pulsed around Chengming. Afterwards, Jianqin suddenly appeared. He had been sent over by the artifact spirit of the Divine Hall. Chapter 3056. Jianqin, what a coincidence. I never thought I'd be able to see you on the ice pole plane. The Grand Elder looked at Jianqin and smiled warmly. He was extremely amiable, without any of the arrogance of a Grand Prime. Congratulations on reforging your body, Grand Elder. You've reached new heights. Jianqin clasped his fist and congratulated from the bottom of his heart. Afterwards, he looked at the mirror hovering before Chengming and asked, Grand Elder, are you planning on wiping out the Hoofing clan this time? The Grand Elder nodded. Master has sent me a message for me to continue collecting blood and soul beads. And this time not only do Master need higher quality blood and soul beads, but time is extremely tight as well. If we want to refine high-quality blood and soul beads in a short amount of time, just collecting the essence, blood, and soul energy of a few godhood cultivators is nowhere near enough. We can only target a few large organizations. It just so happens that the Hoofing clan of the Ice Pole Plane has fallen out with our religion, and they've lost their Grand Prime ancestor. They're no longer a great threat to our heavenly demon religion, so we've chosen them as our target. Chengming shifted his attention away from the battlefield. He stared at Jianqin with a profound gaze and said, Jianqin, you just happened to appear at a time like this. It must be related to the Hoofing clan, right? Grand Elder's foresight is extraordinary. My visit this time is indeed related to the Hoofing clan. Jianqin did not deny it. He paused before continuing. A friend of mine has been captured by an unknown chaotic prime. We've already discovered that the unknown chaotic prime has fled to the Hoofing clan, so I hope the Grand Elder can help me find that chaotic prime. What's so difficult about that? Don't worry. As long as the chaotic prime you speak of is in the Hoofing clan, it's impossible for him to escape. This is because our heavenly demon religion has already secretly cast down a spatial god artifact above the Hoofing clan. This spatial god artifact was given to us by Master. Although it's not particularly powerful, it can seal up an entire region of space. Even many Grand Primes will struggle to escape from this space, let alone chaotic primes, the Grand Elder said solemnly. The Great Elder Chengming said confidently. He was already confident that he would win against the Hoofing clan this time. Yes, the formation is about to be completed. Once the formation is complete, Blood Devil, Blade Devil, Wind Devil, and Cloud Devil will be able to instantly break through the Feng clan's formation. Chengming began to observe the battlefield. A faint smile appeared on his face. The protective formation of the Hoofing clan in the past. If it's the formation of the past, we can only use the heaven-linking, heavenly bridge. It's just a pity that the most powerful formation of the Hoofing clan has already been destroyed by Master. With all of their Grand Primes dead, it's naturally impossible for them to repair the formation completely with just a group of chaotic primes. They can only carry out some simple repairs to the original formation so that it can stop first or second heavenly layer Grand Primes. It's just a pity that our heavenly demon religion has far too many methods to get through such a powerful formation. The Hoofing clan has a few infinite primes and chaotic primes as well. Once we destroy the Hoofing clan, we should be able to complete the mission Master gave us. At this moment, the formation cast down by countless members of the heavenly demon religion around the Hoofing clan was finally complete. As the power of the formation began to operate, a demonic aura immediately surged into the sky, drowning out the entire region. At the same time, the demonic aura could cut off the senses of the soul. When the demonic aura permeated the surroundings, the powerful senses of the soul that crossed over from various regions of the ice pole plane were all stopped by the demonic aura. They were unable to pass through at all. At the same time, the four great battle generals, Cloud Demon, Blade Demon, Wind Demon, and Blood Demon, who were suspended in the sky, exchanged glances with each other. Immediately, they moved in unison. They formed a square formation and arrived at the front of the Hifeng clan. With a wave of their hands, each of them took out a divine hall. The 4 divine halls were identical in appearance. They seemed like huge castles, and they were all high-quality god artifacts. The 4 generals each stood at the top of a demonic castle. As their energy surged into the demonic castle, the 4 demonic castles immediately began to radiate with endless black light. It devoured all the light in the surroundings. The vast amount of energy radiating from the demonic castles quickly condensed into a profound formation in the sky. At this moment, the blade demon took out a damaged halberd. The halberd was also a high-quality god artifact. However, the halberd's presence was extremely similar to the halberd of the Hifeng clan. That's the ancestors' storm halberd. A chaotic prime great elder discovered the halberd through the protective formations of the Feng clan. He could not help but cry out as undisguised sorrow filled his face. The broken halberd floated in the magic formation formed by the 4 magic fortresses. Under the effect of the magic formation, this broken halberd, whose spirit was already gone, suddenly let out a sky-shaking boom, then exploded in the sky. The energy that erupted from his self-detonation didn't spread in all directions. Instead, it was firmly trapped at the center of the formation formed by the 4 devilish fortresses. The Cloud Demon, Wind Demon, Blood Demon, and Blade Demon formed seals at the same time. In the end, they pointed at the Hifeng clan below. With this wave of his finger, the monstrous energy, trapped in the sky by the 4 demonic fortresses, seemed to have found a vent. It turned into a pillar of energy that soared into the sky and headed straight for the Hifeng family. Several dozen infinite primes and chaotic primes gathered together in the Hifeng clan. They were all stern. Oh no! However, at this moment, a great elder cried out. Afterwards, they all saw a huge pillar of energy descend from the sky with a devastating presence. At that moment, the expressions of all the primordial realm experts gathered in the Hifeng clan changed drastically. They were filled with fear. Boom! In the end, the surging energy from the explosion of the storm halberd struck the protective formation of the Feng clan in a single moment without leaking out at all. The ground shook. The protective formation of the Feng clan only lasted for a few seconds before collapsing. The pillar of energy from the explosion did not weaken at all. After piercing through the protective formation, it created a bottomless pit in the ground with devastating power. The powerful ripples of energy knocked away all the primordial realm experts in the surroundings. Many buildings collapsed. The Hifeng family's protective array was instantly broken. Chapter 3057. Kill. Destroy the Hifeng clan. First Army, kill. Trample the Hifeng clan. Roars immediately rang out from the surroundings of the Hifeng clan. The figures of many members of the heavenly demon religion flickered within the demonic aura that blotted out the sky. Everyone began to encircle the Hifeng clan from all directions as they roared out. The 9 armies of the heavenly demon religion moved out together. They stood in battle formations with great familiarity, combining their powers and erupting with powerful pulses of energy as they charged into the Hifeng clan. In the sky, there were many divine king realm experts flying in the sky, creating sonic booms. There were even primordial realm experts who shot through the air and entered the Hifeng clan in a single instance. They began an intense battle against the primordial realm elders of the Hifeng clan. Immediately, the countless members of the heavenly demon religion engaged in an intense battle with the Hifeng clan. Energy surged in the surroundings as deafening booms constantly rang out. The Blood Demon, Blade Demon, Wind Demon, and Yunamo all stowed away their demonic fortresses and engaged in an intense battle against the chaotic primes of the Hifeng clan. However, the heavenly demon religion clearly paled in comparison to the Hifeng clan in terms of chaotic primes. They only had 4 generals right now. On the other hand, the Hoofing clan had over a dozen chaotic primes. They even had 2 ninth heavenly layer chaotic primes. The Hoofing clan possessed an absolute advantage in terms of chaotic primes. As a result, the 4 generals of the heavenly demon religion lost the upper hand as soon as they began to clash. They were surrounded and attacked by everyone. Heavenly demon religion, you chaotic primes are nowhere near enough if you want to destroy our Hoofing clan. You'll have to pay an unbearable price if you want to destroy our Hoofing clan. The chaotic primes of the Hoofing clan all bellowed out furiously. Madness filled their eyes as well as surging hatred. The grand prime of their Hoofing clan had been slain by the Empyrean demon lord. The decline of the Hoofing clan was all due to the heavenly demon religion, so all of them hated the heavenly demon religion to the core. At this moment, a strange red mist suddenly spread out from the depths of the demonic chi. 3 huge skeletons walked out from the demonic chi, giving off a strong aura of death. The appearance of the 3 huge skeletons immediately caused the expressions of all the chaotic primes of the Hoofing clan to change. They could sense a great threat from the 3 skeletons. This threat was so strong that it directly penetrated his soul. This is the heavenly demon religion's army of death. Be careful of the red mist. It can harm the primordial spirit. A supreme elder of the Hoofing clan yelled. His gaze fell upon the red mist that surrounded the bloody skeleton, and his expression turned grave. At this moment, the 3 blood-red skeletons moved. They locked onto a chaotic prime great elder and swung their huge bone clubs towards him. Before the bone clubs had even arrived, the red mist around the blood-red skeletons had already swept out, enveloping the chaotic prime great elder in a single instance. The great elder immediately experienced a splitting headache. The attacks from the blood-red mist were very strange. Even though he was on guard, he was still affected, causing him to be momentarily distracted. In that split second of delay, the huge bone club of the blood-red skeleton had already smashed over with a terrifying force. With a bang, the great elder of the Hoofing family was sent flying far away. He spat out blood incessantly, and nearly half of his body was destroyed. Chaotic fusion! At the same time, a few cries rang out from the battlefield of infinite primes. Immediately, a few simple formation scrolls hovered in the air. Every single formation scroll possessed extraordinary power, shining with dazzling light as powerful energy pulsed in the surroundings. These formation scrolls were one of the foundations of the heavenly demon religion. Every single formation scroll could fuse with the power of multiple infinite primes, fusing them together and unleashing the battle prowess of chaotic primes. The heavenly demon religion had very few chaotic primes, but they had many infinite primes. Now that some of the infinite primes possessed the battle prowess of chaotic primes through the formation scrolls, the difference between them and the chaotic primes of the Hoofing clan was immediately reduced. With that, the number of infinite primes in the heavenly demon religion decreased by more than half. However, even with that being the case, the remaining infinite primes were still on par with the Hoofing clan. This was because the Hoofing clan only had 60 or 70 infinite primes at most, while the heavenly demon religion possessed over 200 infinite primes. The battle between the 2 organizations spanned several tens of thousands of kilometers. The entire mountain range where the Hoofing clan was located was filled with battles. Monstrous ripples of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings, forming rays of apocalyptic light that quickly flattened the mountain range. The battle had not been going on for very long, and the ground had already become covered in corpses. Suddenly, a resplendent streak of light pierced through the sky. Blade Demon's blade fell, and a 9th heavenly layer chaotic prime of the Hoofing clan was immediately beheaded. His body fell from the sky as blood dyed the sky red. However, as soon as the 9th heavenly layer chaotic prime's corpse landed on the ground, it rapidly shriveled up. All the blood in the corpse had been absorbed by the demonic formation cast down by the heavenly demon religion. A similar situation happened to all the cultivators who had died in battle. Regardless of their strength, all the blood in the bodies of any member of the Hifong clan who died would be sucked away the moment they died. Furthermore, there were also wisps of soul power being absorbed by the devilish formation in the air above. Oh no, the Sacred Elder is dead. The Sacred Elder is dead. It's over. Even the Sacred Elder is dead. Our Hifong clan is definitely going to lose this time. The death of a 9th Heavenly Layer Chaotic Prime was a huge blow to the Hifong clan. There were already people who wanted to retreat, fleeing towards the outside. However, without any exception, all of them were stopped by an invisible spatial barrier. The space had already been sealed up, so no one could escape. Even if they used various secret techniques, it would be useless. A few miserable cries suddenly rang out. After the Blade Demon, the Cloud Demon, the Wind Demon, and the Blood Demon heavily injured the 3 late chaotic primes of the Hifong clan with the help of the 3 blood-red skeletons. Just when the 3 of them were about to press the advantage and deal a fatal blow to the 3 of them, a message from the Grand Elder suddenly rang out in their heads. The light in their eyes flickered when they heard the Grand Elder's orders. They became slightly doubtful. The Grand Elder actually wants us to only injure them. I wonder what he's planning. Since the Grand Elder wants them alive for now, he obviously has other uses for them. Just follow his orders. The Grand Elder has never made a wrong decision. Chapter 3058. The 3 blood-red skeletons formed from the death army of the Heavenly Demon religion bore great results as well. They heavily injured many chaotic primes of the Huffing clan one after another, dealing an extremely heavy blow to the clan. This was because the 3 blood-red skeletons were not living creatures. Instead, they were inanimate objects, a special existence. As a result, the various flaws that would normally appear on fighters, such as pain receptors, emotional reactions, mental reactions, and some weaknesses in the body, or even the soul, did not exist on the blood-red skeletons. They did not have souls or bodies, so they could not feel pain, nor could they feel fear from the threat of death. The only belief they possessed was to charge forward and fight. At the same time, every single bone on the 3 blood-red skeletons was extremely tough, comparable to medium-quality god artifacts. As a result, many chaotic primes were unable to harm them too much. All they could do was leave behind imprints. They were living weapons of war. Even if powerful chaotic primes could deal some damage to the blood-red skeletons, they would struggle to affect the battle prowess of the blood-red skeletons. The 3 blood-red skeletons were already so difficult to deal with. Coupled with the red mist that could corrode the soul, they were like tigers that had grown wings. As a result, even though the 3 blood-red skeletons were not as powerful as late chaotic primes, the red mist on them was enough to threaten 9th Heavenly Layer chaotic primes. Not only did the 4 generals of the Heavenly Demon religion and the infinite primes who could unleash the battle prowess of chaotic primes completely overturned their disadvantage with the cooperation of the 3 blood-red skeletons, but they even gradually gained the upper hand. Great elders of the Huffing clan were heavily injured one after another. Moreover, under the envelopment of the formation, the region had completely become the main battlefield of the Heavenly Demon religion. Only endless demonic aura permeated the surroundings. Under such an environment, the people of the Heavenly Demon religion could constantly recover their energy. On the other hand, not only was the Hifong clan unable to absorb the demonic chi here, but the origin energy that they could absorb had been completely cut off by the demonic formation. As a result, they could only use a limited amount of pills to recover during the intense battle. The Huffing clan completely lost the upper hand in the battle of Primordial Realm experts. As for those below the Primordial Realm, they suffered a crushing defeat. They were forced into constant retreat by the 9 armies of the Heavenly Demon religion. They were basically powerless to fight back. Every single one of the 9 armies of the Heavenly Demon religion had gone through hundreds of battles. They had left behind traces of their glorious battles on the various continents of the Saints' world, and every single member of each army was proficient in the various changes of battle formations. In addition, in large-scale battles, the 9 legions of the heavenly demon religion never fought alone. They were all formed by dozens or hundreds of people in various battle formations of different sizes. If it was necessary, even an entire legion could form a powerful killing formation with shocking might in the span of a breath. The efficiency was so high that it was truly breathtaking. As for the Hifeng clan, although they had used formations against their enemies a few times, that was only on a small scale. It was nowhere close to the scale of the heavenly demon religion. Most of them were doing things their own way, fighting hard on their own. Between the heavenly demon religion and the Hifeng clan, one side was a regular army that possessed rich battle experience, profound battle concepts, and a great grasp of teamwork. On the other side, most of them were sheltered flowers. They were basically disciples of large clans who had never experienced battles of life and death. In one-on-one battles, the members of the Hifeng clan naturally possessed considerable battle prowess. After all, they came from a peak clan, so their cultivation methods and secret techniques were all extraordinary. However, once they faced a group, the Hifeng clan was like a pile of loose sand. Do the heavens really want my Hifeng clan to die? Within the demonic aura, a great elder of the Hifeng clan spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale as he hovered in the air. He looked at the battlefield below with a miserable gaze. His expression was one of grief and despair. In his eyes, the various battle formations formed by the 9 legions of the heavenly demon religion were like meat grinders. They rampaged through the crowd, leaving behind a ground full of blood and corpses wherever they went. The dead clansmen were all disciples of the Hifeng clan. He could clearly see the 9 legions of the heavenly demon religion with a single glance. All of them advanced and retreated in an orderly manner. They had both offensive and defensive capabilities. They had no weaknesses. On the other hand, the thousands of clansmen of the Hifeng clan were in a state of chaos. There were even frequent instances where they were injured by their own clansmen. At this moment, another 2 great elders of the Hifeng clan were heavily injured. They spat out a mist of blood as their bodies heavily smashed into the ground. Why, you're so despicable. You actually launched a sneak attack. One of the great elders looked at Cloud Demon reluctantly as he said, resentfully. Cloud Demon said nothing. Instead, he immediately worked together with Blade Demon, launching vicious attacks against the last remaining 9th heavenly layer chaotic prime of the Hifeng clan. Wind Demon and Blood Demon provided cover as much as they could. The 4 of them worked together extremely well. They moved through the battlefield with great ease, switching opponents with great familiarity according to the situation. They even worked with the 3 blood-red skeletons to launch startling attacks from time to time. As their peak battle prowess rapidly decreased, the Hifeng clan became more and more exhausted from the ferocious attacks of the Empyrean demon cult. Faced with nowhere to run, the desperate primordial realm experts gradually showed madness in their eyes. Since defeat is inevitable, even if that old man dies, he'll drag you down with him. A chaotic prime great elder laughed bitterly. The energy within him surged violently as he charged towards the 4 generals. He wants to blow himself up. Be careful, Blood Demon called out. He immediately became stern. The self-destruction of a chaotic prime was nothing to be underestimated. Even they did not dare to be careless. However, at this moment, a terrifying pressure appeared. A huge hand condensed from surging demonic aura descended from the sky, smashing the chaotic prime great elder who was about to blow himself up into the ground. At the same time, it stopped him from blowing himself up. 2 figures appeared silently in the sky. They were one old and one young. The old man was naturally the grand elder of the heavenly demon religion, Chengming. He gave off the powerful presence of a grand prime. As for the young man beside Chengming, he was completely unfamiliar. None of the upper echelon of the heavenly demon religion, including the 4 generals, had seen him before. He was naturally Genshin. However, He had changed his appearance, hiding his true identity deeply. Chapter 3059. End the battle quickly. Don't let it drag on for too long, said the Grand Elder. Before the army of the heavenly demon religion and the various experts, Qingming no longer treated Jianqin kindly and amiably. Instead, he became dignified. His old and vigorous voice was filled with an unquestionable command. This feeling was as if a high and mighty king was commanding the world. The 4 generals and the many primordial realm experts of the heavenly demon religion were not surprised at all. Instead, they acted like it was only natural. This was because the Grand Elder did indeed possess supreme authority in the heavenly demon religion. Basically, everything within the heavenly demon religion was decided by the Grand Elder. As for the Empyrean Demon Lord, not only was he a legendary figure in the saints' world, but he rarely showed himself. Even in the heavenly demon religion, he was elusive. His existence was more like a pillar of support for the heavenly demon religion, a pillar that kept Poseidon in place. Yes, Grand Elder. The commanders of the 9 armies all responded loudly in the various regions of the Hoofing clan. All the infinite primes agreed as well. In the next moment, they no longer held back and struck out with their full strength. Don't kill the great elders of the Hoofing clan in a hurry. Keep them alive for now and lock them up in the Empyrean demon prison. Qingming continued. As soon as he finished speaking, a 10-meter-wide metal cage fell from the sky, smashing heavily into a mountain. The metal cage did not seem large, but it was unbelievably heavy. Not only did it completely destroy the mountain when it landed, but the entire ground shook as well. Demonic aura surged within the cage. It seemed to be a world of its own, filled with chaos as far as the eye could see. The hearts of the 4 generals of the heavenly demon religion all shuddered when they heard about the Empyrean demon prison. Surprise filled their eyes. The Empyrean demon prison was something left behind by a great elder. It was an extremely powerful high-quality god artifact, specially used to imprison grand primes. Now that he had actually used a treasure on the level of the demonic prison to imprison a group of chaotic primes, it felt like overkill. The 4 generals did not say anything else. Since the Grand Elder had even taken out the demonic prison, they realized just how important the chaotic primes of the Heifeng clan were to the Grand Elder. At this moment, the Grand Elder struck out again. A demonic palm appeared, directly crushing down on the last 9th heavenly layer chaotic prime of the Heifeng clan. As a Grand Prime, he could destroy the world with a raise of his hand. Even a casual strike possessed earth-shaking power. He suppressed the expert from the Foam clan in a single instance before tossing him into the demonic prison casually. After that, the first elder stopped attacking. Instead, he hovered in the air and observed the entire situation. However, the Heifeng clan had lost another 9th heavenly layer chaotic prime, so the difference in strength between them and the heavenly demon religion grew larger and larger. At the same time, a white-haired old man strode through outer space in the vast cosmos beyond the ice pole plain. He could cross worlds with each step, and the stars around him constantly changed with his footsteps. It's been over 100,000 years since I left the clan. I wonder if there's been any outstanding juniors in the clan. There's also the Sky Crane clan. I wonder if they've been trampled by us. In the current ice pole state, we and the Foam clan should be ranked 3rd, right? However, once the old man returns, we won't be ranked 3rd anymore. Instead, we'll be ranked 2nd. Looking at the expanding ice pole province in the void ahead, the old man's face gradually brimmed with an excited smile. His emotions were surging, and he found it difficult to calm down. Over 100,000 years ago, he had left the Heifeng clan as a 9th heavenly layer chaotic prime. He traveled to outer space in search of an opportunity to break through. Now he had returned to the clan as a 1st heavenly layer grand prime. It was a glorious return to his homeland. He also understood that his return would definitely cause the strength of the Heifeng clan to increase drastically. Their status on the ice pole plane would rise as well, becoming the second greatest organization, only second to the Snow Sect. It's been at least 1,000,000 years since the rankings of organizations on the ice pole plane have changed much. Now that the old man has set foot on the ice pole plane, the rankings should change. The old man smiled as he stared at the ice pole plane that grew closer and closer. He was filled with eagerness and pride. However, as soon as he arrived in outer space beyond the ice pole plane, he seemed to sense something. His face immediately changed, and he became furious. He bellowed out, and his speed suddenly exploded. He charged towards the Hoofing clan with the tremendous pressure of a Grand Prime. Heavenly Demon Religion, you dare to attack our Hoofing family? How dare you? His voice came from the void outside the Ice Pole Province, forming a powerful sound wave that covered the entire Ice Pole Province. When his voice reached the ears of the many great forces in the Ice Pole Province, the expressions on the faces of the top brass of these great forces immediately changed. It was needless to say how disgusted they were. The Empyrean Demon Lord seemed to have slain all the Grand Primes of the Foam clan. None of them remained. It's Grand Elder Wu. It's actually Old Wu. Damn it, he disappeared for more than 100,000 years. Why did he suddenly return at this time? Old Man Wu has actually broken through. Sigh, even if Old Man Wu breaks through to Grand Prime, he won't be able to change anything. Old Wu, hurry up and leave this place. Don't come back. Cries rang out from the Hephone clan as well. If it were any other time, the addition of a Grand Prime to the clan would definitely be enough to shake up the entire plane. But now, all the great elders of the clan could only feel sorrow with the current situation of the Hephone clan. So what if they had a Grand Prime? He could only be like a sheep entering a tiger's den, seeking his own death. The Foam clan actually has a new Grand Prime. That's fine too. I'll use him to test the secret techniques Master passed on to me. At the same time, the great elder of the Heavenly Demon Religion raised his head to look at the sky. Soon after, he tossed a token filled with demonic aura to Jianqin, saying, Jianqin, this old one is going to leave for a while. This is my identity token. Take it, and no one from the Heavenly Demon Religion will dare attack you. Moreover, apart from the 4 of them, everyone else is under your command. After hurriedly giving instructions, Chang Ming's body swept up monstrous devil qi and rushed into the void beyond the heavens. Immediately, the 2 Grand Primes engaged in an intense battle in outer space. Jianqin looked at the intense battle in outer space. He wanted to use the profound sword qi to assist the Grand Elder, but after thinking about it, he gave up in the end. There were no formations in outer space, so it was impossible to block out the senses of the soul. The battle between the Grand Elder and the new Grand Prime of the Hephone clan would definitely raise the attention of all the experts on the ice pole plane. If he used the profound sword qi here, he could not guarantee that he would not be recognized. However, it was different in the Hephone clan. With demonic formations, the senses of the soul could not enter. The chances of a few chaotic primes recognizing the profound sword qi was extremely slim. Compared to outer space, the matters in the Hephone clan were clearly much more discreet. With the Grand Elder's token, Jianqin moved through the army of the Heavenly Demon Religion without any obstructions. He directly flew out of the battlefield and found Yun Wufeng in a distant mountain range. Senior Yin, let's go. Kill the enemy with me. Jianqin called Yun Wufeng and directly rushed to the Hephone clan. With Yun Wufeng's strength as a 6th heavenly layer chaotic prime, the battle would come to an end even sooner if he took part. Aye, the battlefield of the Heavenly Demon Religion is up ahead. It'll be inappropriate for us to barge in recklessly. It'll be very easy for misunderstandings to arise. Yun Wufeng felt uncertain. Don't worry, Senior Yin. I've already reached an agreement with the Heavenly Demon Religion. We're on the same side as the Heavenly Demon Religion now, Jianqin vowed. Chapter 3060. You were able to reach an agreement with the Heavenly Demon Religion. Hearing that, Yun Wufeng was secretly surprised. Not only was this person who claimed to be Little Yu, Er's friend related to the Tianhe clan, but he was able to get the great elder of the Tianhe clan to personally escort the god pill with a single message. Now, in such a short period of time, they had reached an agreement with the heavenly demon religion. This was truly unbelievable. For a moment, Jianqin's identity became even more mysterious and unfathomable in Yun Wufeng's eyes. Although he still did not know Jianqin's true identity, Yun Wufeng did not ask. Ever since he saw Jianqin change his appearance several times, he understood that Jianqin was trying his best to hide his identity. He did not want others to know. Having lived for so long, he naturally wouldn't make such a mistake. The two of them traveled at lightning speed. In a few flashes, they had already entered the battlefield between the heavenly demon religion and the Hufeng clan. Their figures were instantly engulfed by the monstrous demon qi. However, as soon as he entered the range of the demonic qi, Yun Wufeng immediately felt uncomfortable. The demonic qi seemed to be able to divide the world, isolating the region from the saint's world. Not only was he unable to sense any origin energy within the demonic qi, but even the strength he could unleash was affected as well. Under such an environment, I'm already unable to fight while absorbing the quintessence energy of the heavens and the earth. If I want to recover my exhausted cultivation, I'll probably have to consume medicinal pills and rely on divine crystals. Yun Wufeng looked at the battlefield and sighed. The environment is so unfavorable for the Hufeng clan. The Hufeng clan will definitely lose this time. There's also the 9 armies of the heavenly demon religion. Is there any organization in the saints' world that can contend against such a powerful army? At this moment, the primordial realm experts of the heavenly demon religion discovered Jianqin and Yun Wufeng's intrusion. Immediately, they worked together to surround them. We're on the same side. Jianqin called out and immediately took out the black medallion Chengming had given him. When the infinite primes saw the medallion, their eyes narrowed. They were extremely surprised. As infinite primes, they were naturally members of the upper echelon of the heavenly demon religion. They would be vice leaders in any branch, so they knew extremely well what the medallion represented. This was the identity medallion of the great elder of the heavenly demon religion. Seeing the medallion was the same as seeing the person. Those who held this medallion had the same authority as the great elder. They could command any power in the heavenly demon religion. Even the deputy palace masters like them had to listen to the orders of the headmaster. The hearts of the infinite primes churned. They had followed the grand elder for many years, but they had never seen the grand elder give the medallion to a second person. He had always been with the grand elder. However, now that they had seen the medallion in Jianqin's hands, they immediately began to think. As a result, the infinite primes of the heavenly demon religion immediately concealed their presences. They no longer seemed as murderous as before. They all bowed towards Jianqin and clasped their fists. They said politely with mixed feelings, "May I ask what your orders are, sir?" Jianqin had changed his appearance, so the infinite primes of the heavenly demon religion naturally did not recognize Jianqin. As a result, they could only refer to him as sir. "If there are no other orders, then continue your battle," Jianqin said indifferently. He stared at one of the infinite primes, and his heart immediately rippled. He knew this infinite primes. He was one of the 8 elders of the heavenly demon religion, the Fox Saint Elder. At the same time, he was the master of Yashi Lian, the commander of the 7th army of the heavenly demon religion. In the past, the Fox Saint Elder was a supreme existence in his eyes. Just her name alone was enough to shock the entire Pingtian Empire. However, now that he had become an expert on par with chaotic primes, the Fox Saint Elder's cultivation as an infinite prime clearly did not hold much weight in his eyes, even though she was a late infinite prime. "Yes, sir." Including the Fox Saint Elder, the members of the upper echelon of the heavenly demon religion bowed towards Jianqin again. Afterwards, they turned around and joined the battle, engaging in an intense battle against the infinite primes of the Hufeng family. Yun Wufeng, who stood beside Jianqin, felt his heart churn when he personally witnessed how respectful the infinite primes of the heavenly demon religion acted towards Jianqin. If Jianqin had only reached some sort of agreement with the heavenly demon religion before, he would have only been slightly surprised. However, now that he looked at it, it was not an agreement at all. The respect the infinite primes of the heavenly demon religion displayed towards Jianqin was clearly the reaction of a subordinate towards a superior. Yun Wufeng looked at Jianqin in fright because he really did have an urge to ask Jianqin about his identity. Jianqin naturally sensed Yun Wufeng's strange gaze. He did not say anything, directly joining the battle between chaotic primes with Yun Wufeng. Immediately, for powerful senses of the soul gathered over, attracting the attention of the four generals. However, after Jianqin flashed his medallion, the senses of the four generals retreated silently. At this moment, the four generals fought against the many chaotic primes of the Hufeng clan under the cooperation of the blood-red skeleton. Their battle caused the ground to collapse, the sun and moon to dim, and the mountains and rivers to be destroyed. The people who could take part in the battle between the four generals were all at the 5th heavenly layer of chaotic primes, or above. Senior Yin, let's do it. Same as before, I'll damage their souls, and you'll be responsible for the main attacks. Remember, we have to keep them alive. Don't kill them. Jianshan locked onto a 7th heavenly layer chaotic prime of the Hufeng clan and said to Yun Wufeng through a communication technique sternly, "Don't worry. He's a 7th heavenly layer expert, after all. Killing him won't be that easy with my strength at the 6th heavenly layer," said Yun Wufeng before immediately using a god-tier battle skill unique to the moon god hull. Immediately, with the tremendous might of the world, a huge, round moon formed above Yun Wufeng's head. It directly smashed towards the 7th heavenly layer chaotic prime of the Hufeng clan. When the god-tier battle skill landed, Jianqin's profound sword chi shot out at the same time. It immediately heavily injured the 7th heavenly layer chaotic prime of the Hufeng clan, causing the protective energy around him to collapse. He was completely defenseless. Boom! With a great rumble, Yun Wufeng's god-tier battle skill directly shattered the 7th heavenly layer chaotic prime of the Hufeng clan. He was blown away while vomiting blood. He was haggard. Chapter 3061. In an instant, the Hufeng clan lost another late, chaotic prime. The Hufeng clan was already exhausted from fending off the attacks of the heavenly demon religion. They were already on the verge of collapsing. Now that they had lost another 7th heavenly layer chaotic prime, it immediately dealt an extremely heavy blow to the few remaining peak forces of the Hufeng clan. Without the late chaotic prime keeping them busy, the four generals of the heavenly demon religion could finally free themselves up. They began to deal with the early chaotic primes of the Hufeng clan. With the strength of the four generals, the strongest among them were only at the 3rd heavenly layer, so they naturally crushed them. Without much effort, they sent the early chaotic primes of the Hufeng clan into the demonic prison, one after another. Without a doubt, the addition of Jianqin and Yun Wufeng sped up the destruction of the Hufeng clan. The battle on the ground no longer had any suspense, but the battle between the grand primes in outer space was extraordinarily intense. The battle between the Grand Elder of the heavenly demon religion, Changming, and Wu Zhu, who had just become a grand prime of the Hufeng clan, had already reached its climax. Both sides fought as hard as they could. The surging energies of grand primes constantly collided, producing endless booms. Around the two of them, the space around them had already turned into darkness. As it continued to shatter and repair, a devastating storm of energy spread far and wide. Not only did it frighten all the cultivators in the Ice Pole province, but it also spread to the depths of the starry sky. Even from extremely far away, they could sense the violent collision between the two laws of the world. Although the two of them were 1st heavenly layer grand primes, they were still grand primes after all. Their comprehension of the laws of the world had reached an extremely deep level. If they truly fought without holding back, they were completely capable of causing a disaster on any plane. As Wu Zhu of the Huffing clan fought against Chengming, he also paid close attention to the battle below. Although the senses of his soul could not enter the demonic formation, he could sense the presences of the chaotic primes of his clan vanishing one by one through a secret technique of the Huffing clan. This immediately infuriated him. Heavenly demon religion, you bunch of crooked demons! Old man will rip you to shreds! Wu Zhu was furious. With a deafening roar, the energy on him surged. The powerful might of the world suddenly descended, and he immediately used a god-tier battle skill. A god-tier battle skill used by a Grand Prime was unimaginably powerful. It was on a completely different level from chaotic primes. As soon as the terrifying energy from the god-tier battle skill condensed the surrounding space like a mirror, it began to shatter. 9 godly arts, space-splitting fingers. The Grand Elder did not become careless at all against Wu Zhu's god-tier battle skill. He used the secret technique his master had passed on to him without any hesitation at all. His right hand turned into a claw and shone with extremely bright light. He directly swung it at the space before him. Almost at the same time, Chengming's secret technique collided with Wu Zhu's god-tier battle skill. With a great boom, Wu Zhu's god-tier battle skill was actually unable to withstand a single blow. It was ripped apart easily by Chengming's claw. Afterwards, Chengming's secret technique did not weaken at all. The 5 streaks of light from his 5 fingers directly struck Wu Zhu's body. Spurt, 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 spurt. The 5 streaks of light were like 5 sharp blades. Wu Zhu's body was unable to resist at all. He was immediately cut into 6 pieces. Wu Zhu paled in fright. Having lost his body, his battle prowess had basically been reduced to 0. Without any hesitation, he immediately controlled his head that was still intact to flee into the distance. If a Grand Prime fled as quickly as he could, experts of the same level would struggle to catch up to him. Unfortunately, he encountered the Grand Elder of the Heavenly Demon Religion, Chengming. Chengming seemed to have already predicted Wu Zhu's actions. He sneered and immediately formed a seal, extending a finger towards Wu Zhu. 9 godly arts, heaven and earth seal. Immediately, the space around Wu Zhu froze. It seemed to have become a tough cage, trapping him firmly. With that, Wu Zhu immediately became frantic. He bellowed out in frustration and began to burn the power of his soul. He charged out wildly as if he wanted to break free. Your god-tier battle skill is far too weak compared to Master's 9 godly arts. You overestimate yourself by trying to escape from Master's 9 godly arts, the Grand Elder sneered. Great Elder Chengming sneered. In the next moment, the Sky Devil prison, which was originally placed in the Huffing clan, suddenly appeared out of thin air and sucked in Wu Zhu's head. Even the other 5 severed limbs were not left behind. He's a first heavenly layer Grand Prime after all. Killing him like this is far too much of a pity. It's better to hand him over to Master and turn him into a purer soul of high quality. A purer soul refined from the soul of a Grand Prime. TSK, TSK, TSK. That's an extremely rare item. The Grand Elder stowed the demonic prison away in satisfaction before returning to the Hefeng clan with a flash. Although the battle between the Grand Primes had ended and the Grand Elder had vanished into outer space, the owners of the powerful senses of the soul that had spread over from the ice pole plane struggled to remain calm. They were all greatly shaken. It's over? It's actually over so quickly? A first heavenly layer Grand Prime has died just like that? This is just far too shocking. Old Man thought it would be very difficult to determine the outcome of the battle, that it would take several decades or even centuries at the very least. I never thought it would end so quickly. The difference in battle prowess in the first half of the battle was indeed not very great. After all, they've both just become first heavenly layer Grand Primes. What truly decided the outcome was the secret technique the Grand Elder used at the end. That secret technique was extraordinary. It possessed unfathomable abilities. That's right, the Grand Elder of the Heavenly Demon Religion won so easily, all because of his secret technique. The secret technique was just too powerful. Even a god-tier battle skill could not withstand it. With the Grand Elder's return, the battle between the Primordial Realm experts in the Hifeng clan came to an end very quickly. All the infinite primes in the clan were slain mercilessly without exception. As for the chaotic primes, apart from the 9th heavenly layer chaotic prime who had been slain by the Blade Demon, all the remaining chaotic primes were locked up in the demonic prison after being heavily injured. The 4 generals of the Heavenly Demon Religion had suffered some injuries in this battle. None of the chaotic primes had died, while over 20 infinite primes had died. With the conclusion of the battle between the Primordial Realm experts, the terrifying ripples of energy in the Hifeng clan weakened drastically. At this moment, the 3 blood-red skeletons had vanished. All the Primordial Realm experts hovered in the air as they watched the battle between Godhood experts coldly. The 9 armies of the Heavenly Demon Religion continued to engage in an intense battle. Their opponents were the countless clansmen of the Hifeng clan. There were many divine king experts among them. However, as Primordial Realm experts, they had no interest in participating in a battle between Godhood experts. Moreover, this was a very good opportunity to train the 9 armies of the Heavenly Demon Religion. At this moment, Jianqin stood beside the Grand Elder with Yun Wufeng. All the Primordial Realm experts of the Heavenly Demon Religion gathered there, studied the 2 of them with curiosity and doubt. Even with Yun Wufeng's mental fortitude, he found it very unnatural to be stared at by so many people. After all, the people gathered there were all members of the upper echelon of the Heavenly Demon Religion. Just the infinite primes numbered over 200. Compared to the Heavenly Demon Religion, the Moon God Hall was nothing worth mentioning. Let alone the Moon God Hall, even the Hifeng clan that ranked 4th or even 2nd on the Ice Pole Plain could be wiped out easily. Grand Elder, according to the current rate at which the blood beads and soul beads are condensed, were nowhere near the requirements. If we want to reach the minimum requirements set by the Great Elder, none of the chaotic primes locked up in the demonic prison can be left alive, the Blade Demon said at this moment. Chapter 3062. Jianqin nodded. He got Yun Wufeng to wait outside the demonic formation before entering the demonic prison with the Grand Elder. Demonic clouds churned within the demonic prison. The demonic aura was so powerful that it could not be compared to the demonic formations outside. The space inside was a world of its own. Although it seemed like a tiny prison from the outside, the space inside was an extremely vast miniature world. The miniature world was divided into many independent spaces. Every single space was a completely sealed-up prison. Not only was it extraordinarily tough, but there was no energy at all. Moreover, the prison possessed a powerful suppressive force. The suppressive force came from a high-quality god artifact. Let alone chaotic primes, even grand primes would be suppressed like mortals if they were locked up in there. They would struggle to move. At this moment, the chaotic prime great elders of the Hifeng clan were separated and locked up in various prisons. With a flash, Jianqin silently appeared before one of the prisons under the Grand Elder's accompaniment. The person locked up in the prison was an 8th heavenly layer chaotic prime, Great Elder. If you need to know anything, just ask. There really aren't a lot of people who can keep their secrets in the demonic prison, said the Grand Elder. At this moment, the person locked up in the prison opened his eyes. Even though he already knew that he would suffer a horrible fate, he remained extremely composed as if he no longer cared about death. Do whatever you want. As for what you want to know from Old Man, I'd advise you to give up. Even if the Old Man dies here, even if he has to go through all the pain in the world, he won't say anything to you demons, said the 8th heavenly layer chaotic prime coldly. Jianqin completely ignored him. He glared at the person in the prison and said, 2 days ago, an infinite prime was captured in the Ice Goddess Hall. Was that you? The chaotic prime in the prison sat with his eyes closed like a meditating monk. He did not care about the matters of the outside world. Great Elder, didn't you say that in the Heavenly Devil prison, not many people can keep their secrets? Jianqin looked at the Great Elder beside him. The Grand Elder chuckled. Without saying anything, he immediately formed a seal with his hand. Immediately, the demonic aura in the prison surged. A few strands of black, demonic aura that were clearly different from the others emerged. They were like vicious demons, constantly twisting and wriggling into the 8th heavenly layer chaotic prime's head. In the next moment, the chaotic prime's expression changed. But very soon, he seemed to suffer unbearable pain. All the muscles on his face twisted as he groaned deeply. This process lasted for over 10 breaths of time. When he opened his eyes again, his eyes were no longer as clear as before. His eyes had become scarlet red, and there was a pain and madness that was difficult to describe with words. A portion of his chaotic emotions were mixed in as well. The Heavenly Devil prison, left behind by Master, isn't just for imprisoning people. It also has the ability to interfere with the minds of those imprisoned to a certain extent, allowing them to control the souls of those imprisoned. The Grand Elder smiled faintly, with the quality of the demonic prison as a high-quality god artifact. Grand Primes might be able to fend it off for a while. As for chaotic primes, there has never been a case of failure. Jianqin, keep asking. Afterwards, Jianqin repeated his question. This time it went extremely smoothly. The 8th heavenly layer chaotic prime locked up in the Heavenly Devil prison answered Jianqin's question without any hesitation at all. The old man has already been in seclusion for several decades. He only emerged when the heavenly demon religion invaded. The old man knows nothing about everything that has happened in the past few decades. It's not him. Jianqin frowned slightly. He felt some pity, but he did not become dejected because the Huffing clan had a total of 3 8th heavenly layer chaotic primes. Afterwards, Jianqin and Chengming immediately went to the next location and saw the second 8th heavenly layer chaotic prime of the Huffing clan. Afterwards, the Grand Elder used the same trick again, using the Heavenly Devil prison to control the soul and interrogate him. I entered a trial of life and death 100 years ago, working hard to break through to the 9th heavenly layer. I only emerged when the clan faced a crisis of life and death. It's not him either. Jianqin frowned even more. He had already interrogated 2 of the 3 8th heavenly layer chaotic primes of the Huffing clan. None of them were the hooded expert who had kidnapped Shui Yinlan. There's still the last 8th heavenly layer chaotic prime. Jianqin felt rather uneasy as he arrived at the final location with the Grand Elder. The old man has always been in seclusion, so he has never seen the person you speak of. This was the answer from the 3rd 8th heavenly layer chaotic prime. Now, the 3 great elders of the Huffing clan who met the requirements had all been interrogated, but the results made Jianqin pale. His heart felt empty as if he had lost his soul. Were the clues to track down Shui Yunlan severed just like that? Shui Yunlan's fate did not matter, but her safety was directly related to Changyang Mingyue's survival. In particular, after witnessing the Heavenly Devil prison's ability to control souls, Jianqin became even more worried. Perhaps the Heavenly Devil prison was the only one, but there was definitely more than one secret technique or strange evil technique that could control souls. Jianqin, perhaps the person you're looking for doesn't belong to the Huffing clan at all. Although I don't know the exact details, I believe that with the current strength of the Huffing clan, they definitely wouldn't dare to go to the Ice Goddess Hall to capture someone because the death of their Grand Prime has already made them too busy to fend for themselves, said the Grand Elder, Chengming. Jianqin's eyes immediately lit up when he heard that. Suddenly, he realized that he had truly let his concerns get the better of him, causing him to misunderstand. Although the hooded expert had entered the Huffing clan before, did that really mean he was a member of the Huffing clan? Moreover, he suddenly thought of what the Lawn ancestor had said before. There was a grand prime behind the hooded expert, helping him conceal the heavenly secrets and erase all traces, such that the Lawn ancestor was unable to find anything. However, the Hoofing clan no longer had a grand prime. Let's go interrogate the others. If the mysterious hooded person you speak of really did enter the Hoofing clan, he definitely came into contact with the upper echelon of the clan. This is because the protective formations of the Hoofing clan aren't something that chaotic primes can infiltrate. He obviously obtained permission to enter the Hoofing clan, said the Grand Elder. As a result, Jianqin and the Grand Elder immediately began interrogating all the chaotic prime, great elders, locked up here. They started from the strongest to the weakest. The heavens did not disappoint the diligent. In the end, Jianqin finally learnt the identity of a sixth heavenly layer, chaotic prime, great elder, after interrogating him. The expert you speak of is a great elder of the Snow sect. He's known as the Evil Elder. The Evil Elder did come to our Hoofing clan 2 days ago, but he only exchanged a few heavenly materials with us before leaving very soon. After learning the identity of the hooded expert, Jianqin was both excited and surprised. He was excited because he had finally found Shui Yunlan's whereabouts. However, what chilled him was that the hooded expert was actually from the Snow sect. Chapter 3063. The Snow Sect. Why is it the Snow Sect? Why is the person with the bamboo had the great elder of the Snow Sect the one who took Shui Yunlan away? When the chaotic prime with the bamboo hat took Shui Yunlan away, a grand prime concealed the heavenly secrets for him and wiped away all traces. Looking at it now, the grand prime must be the ancestor of the Snow sect. At that moment, Jianqin's heart sank. His face became very ugly. He struggled to remain calm before the greatest organization on the ice pole plane. After all, it was a colossal organization that was even more powerful than the Tianhe clan, the greatest on the ice pole plane. What terrified him the most was that this colossal organization had already become like the Flame Reverend, targeting the Ice Goddess Hall or the Snow Goddess. This was something that could be clearly determined from how Shui Yunlan had been injured first, before being forcefully taken away. When he heard that the mysterious expert Jianqin had found after so much effort was actually from the Snow sect, the Grand Elder Chengming frowned. Clearly, he had realized the severity of the matter. Jianqin, let me go to the Snow sect with you. Let's go find them, the Grand Elder said sternly. He knew just how special Jianqin's identity was. Not only was he someone his master valued, but Jianqin was also like family in Xiao Ling's heart. As for Xiao Ling, although she was not powerful, her status in his master's heart was like his own daughter. With these two relationships, Chengming would help Jianqin no matter what. Jianqin shook his head and sighed gently. Grand Elder, the Snow sect won't admit to this because my friend who was taken away by them has an extremely special identity. Once the Snow sect admits to this, even if they're the greatest organization on the ice pole plane, they probably won't be able to bear the consequences. Jianqin sighed gently inside. The Snow sect was not the Flame Reverend after all. The Flame Reverend was powerful himself, so there was no need for him to act secretively. As a native force of the extreme ice province, the Snow sect did not dare to admit the Ice Goddess Hall when there were still many experts in the extreme ice province who viewed the Ice Goddess Hall as a supreme, sacred land. Therefore, he could already predict that even if he and the Grand Elder of the Heavenly Demon Religion went to the Snow sect in person, the Snow sect would deny it. The first elder didn't say anything, but his eyes darkened. Faintly, he seemed to have thought of something. Alas, Master seems to be doing something very important during this period of time. I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to free himself. Otherwise, if Master were to appear in person, the Snow sect would be nothing to worry about. Chengming sighed softly, feeling powerless. Snow sect. Jianqin engraved this sect in his mind, and his gaze turned sharp at this moment. After leaving the Heavenly Devil prison with Chengming, Jianqin immediately bid farewell to Qingming and left. The heavenly demon religion remained behind to clean up the battlefield and receive various resources from the Hufeng clan. They also waited for the battle between gods to end. Jianqin found Yun Wufeng nearby. As soon as the two of them met, Yun Wufeng asked, "How is it? Did you find out who that person was?" Jianqin nodded slowly and said with a sunken face, "I found him. His background is quite impressive. However, they've captured my friend, so no matter how great his background is, I have a way to make them release her obediently." Jianqin's voice was cold. After all, this matter concerned the life and death of his second sister. As a result, he needed to save her no matter the price. "Senior Yin, thank you for your assistance this time. I need to find a way to save her, so I'll be going first." Jianqin clasped his fist towards Yun Wufeng. Just when he was about to leave, he suddenly thought of something. With a thought, he immediately released the soul of the sixth elder of the Moon God Hall. "Ah, Senior, you're finally willing to let me out. May I ask, Senior, how is my performance in the Moon God Hall? Is Senior satisfied?" As soon as the sixth elder's soul appeared, he immediately put on a fawning expression. He bowed and spoke to Jianqin in an extremely subservient manner. Jianqin did not even look at the sixth elder's soul. He said to Yun Wufeng, "Senior Yin, this is an elder of your Moon God Hall. I'll leave him to you." "Ah, great elder." Only now did the sixth elder discover Yun Wufeng behind him. His illusionary face immediately changed, becoming filled with shock and fear. "Senior, don't. Senior, you can't leave me to the great elder. Senior, you promised to let me go." The sixth elder begged bitterly. "I only promised that I wouldn't kill you. Aren't you still alive and well right now?" Jianqin said emotionlessly. He ignored the sixth elder's begging. After handing him to Yun Wufeng, he turned around and left. As for the sixth elder's fate, it was none of his concern. Supreme Elder, please spare my life." The sixth elder's primordial spirit knelt down in the void. Now he no longer had the fearless spirit and courage he once had. He only wanted to live. On the other side, Jianqin arrived in a desolate, icy plain. He began to call for the wind venerable silently. The mastermind behind all of this was the Snow Sect. The best method that Jianqin could think of right now was to ask the Wind Venerable for help. This was because the Wind Venerable was a Grand Exalt. As long as he was in the Saint's world, he could descend anywhere in the Saint's world with a single thought. This was the power of Grand Exalts. To Jianqin, asking the Wind Venerable for help was without a doubt the best and fastest method right now. "I hope I won't disturb the Wind Venerable," Jianqin thought. If it were not for the fact that he was in a dire situation, he really did not want to disturb the Wind Venerable. However, after witnessing the special abilities of the Sky Devil prison, he did not want to waste any more time. Jianqin constantly called for the Wind Venerable. This was not the first time he had heard about the Grand Exalt's heaven-defying abilities. As long as he chanted his name, the Grand Exalt would be able to sense him even from the ends of the world. Time passed silently. Jianqin did not receive a response as he constantly chanted the name of the Wind Venerable. He immediately became uneasy. Has the Wind Venerable reached a crucial moment and sealed off all his senses? Jianqin's face changed. However, he still tried for half a day without giving up. After failing to obtain anything, he was forced to give up on the idea of calling for the Wind Venerable. With a flash, he immediately left, hurrying to the Tianhe clan as quickly as he could. In the end, he saw the Lan ancestor on the flying snow peak. Ancestor Lan continued to refine God-tier pills where she was before. With her back to Jianqin, she said, without even looking back, "Looking at how worried you are, not only do you know that person's identity, but you also know how great the organization behind him is." Jianqin nodded and said politely, "Ancestor Lan is right. The organization behind that person is indeed very powerful." He's a great elder of the Snow Sect, the Heretic King. The Snow Sect. It really is them, the Lan ancestor murmured. She did not seem to be surprised by this outcome. Chapter 3064. Jianshin's eyes narrowed. He did not answer the Lan ancestor. Instead, he asked with some surprise, Ancestor Lan, you've already guessed that the Snow Sect is behind this. Although the ice pole plain is very large, there are only a few people with that ability. It's not difficult to guess, the Lan ancestor said indifferently. Her voice was clear and melodious. It was extremely pleasant to the ear. Jianshin agreed with that. After all, the Lan ancestor had said that the person covering up the tracks for the Xie Elder was a mid-Grand Prime at the very least. In other words, they were 4th Heavenly Layer Grand Primes or higher. Although there were many Grand Primes on the Ice Pole Plane, most of them were early Grand Primes. Naturally, there were only a handful of mid-Grand Primes. Ancestor Lan, can you tell me about the strength of the Snow Sect? Jianshin asked. The Snow Sect has 4 Grand Primes. 2 of them are 6th Heavenly Layer Grand Primes. 1 is 4th Heavenly Layer, and 1 is 3rd Heavenly Layer. The Lan ancestor told Jianshin about the strength of the Snow Sect without any hesitation. Jianshin could not help but gasp when he heard that. Although he knew that the Snow Sect was very powerful, he had never expected them to be so powerful. They had 2 6th Heavenly Layer Grand Primes. In the past few years, Jianshin had come into contact with many Grand Primes in the Saints' world, but most of them were early Grand Primes. There were not many mid-Grand Primes, let alone 6th Heavenly Layer Grand Primes. He deeply understood what a 6th Heavenly Layer Grand Prime represented. Every single one of them was a renowned figure in the Saints' world. Their deterrence was not limited to a single plane or planet. Even in the vast cosmos of the Saints' world, they possessed a place of their own. However, what the Lan ancestor said next chilled Jianshin's heart. The 2 6th Heavenly Layer Grand Primes aren't the most terrifying aspect of the Snow Sect. The most terrifying aspect of the Snow Sect is one of the 2 6th Heavenly Layer Grand Primes, Ancestor Bingyan. 10,000 years ago, Ancestor Bingyan of the Snow Sect once fought against a 7th Heavenly Layer Grand Prime. Although Ancestor Bingyan was defeated in that battle, she was able to escape unscathed. Just by relying on her own strength, Ancestor Bingyan is already able to contend against a 7th Heavenly Layer expert. At the mention of Ancestral Master Bingyan, even with Ancestor Lan's cultivation, his expression was solemn. Jianshin's heart sank. Ancestor Bingyan was actually so powerful. Did that not mean that she could actually be regarded as a 7th Heavenly Layer Grand Prime in the Snow Sect? The 7th Heavenly Layer of Grand Prime was late Grand Prime. There was an extremely huge difference between this level of cultivation and the 6th Heavenly Layer. For a moment, Jianshin's heart became particularly heavy. The Snow Sect possessed experts equivalent to 7th Heavenly Layer Grand Primes. Without the Wind Venerable taking action, just who among the experts he knew had the ability to save them? Without a doubt, the First Majesty of the Heavenly Palace of Bishing possessed this ability. However, he understood even more that the First Majesty of the Heavenly Palace of Bishing was already being righteous enough by not adding insult to injury under these circumstances. As for saving someone, that was even more impossible. This was because the First Majesty of the Heavenly Palace of Bishing and the Snow Goddess of the Ice Goddess Hall were more like enemies. Since they were enemies, why would she lend a hand? The main reason why Ancestor Bingyan is so powerful is because she was once chosen by the Ice Goddess Hall when she was still very weak. She served the Snow Goddess Hall for a period of time, but for some reason she was expelled from the Ice Goddess Hall by the Snow Goddess Hall. Ancestor Lan sighed gently. She looked at Jianshin behind her and said, "Now that you know how powerful the Snow Sect is, do you still want to save your friend?" Even though Jianshin's face was stern, his determination did not waver at all. He nodded slowly and said sternly, "Yes, and I will do whatever it takes." Ancestor Lan smiled. Her smile was as beautiful as a painting in the sky. Even the most beautiful words in the world were far from enough to describe her stunning appearance at this moment. She looked at Jianqin. Her gaze was filled with many emotions. There was surprise, admiration, and faint disdain. I really don't know where your confidence comes from. You're actually bold enough to save someone from the hands of a Grand Prime of the Snow sect with your measly strength that hasn't even reached chaotic prime. He had no idea whether the Lan ancestor was praising him or mocking him, but what she said next shook Jianqin's heart. It was like a tidal wave had surged within him. But I'm more curious about your relationship with the snow goddess. Jianqin's eyes suddenly narrowed to the size of needles. His heart skipped a beat, and even his breathing became rather ragged. Ancestor Lan's sudden question immediately surprised Jianqin, who was completely unprepared. The light in Jianqin's eyes flickered. Even though he had been caught off guard, he was not surprised at all when he thought about it carefully. He had learned far too much about the Ice Goddess Hall from the Heavenly Crane Divine Hall, so he had given himself away long ago. Jianqin sucked in a deep breath and calmed down very soon. He looked at Ancestor Lan and said, "She's my sister." This time, it was Ancestor Lan's turn to be surprised. Even though her face did not change much, ripples flickered through her eyes, and her eyes narrowed slightly. Even though she had guessed that Jianqin was related to the snow goddess long ago, she had only thought of them as master and disciple, or as benefactors. She had never thought that Jianqin's relationship with the snow goddess would actually be so close. After all, the snow goddess was only second to Grand Exalts, let alone on the ice pole plane. Even across the 49 Great Plains and 81 Great Planets of the Saints' World, the snow goddess was a figure who stood supreme. She was a great figure who could stir up a storm with just a stomp of her foot. With that, Ancestor Lan fell silent instead. She did not show anything on the surface, but she was not calm inside. The snow goddess' younger brother? The person standing before her was actually the snow goddess' younger brother? This news was truly earth-shattering to any expert in the ice pole state. Even though she knew that this so-called younger brother of hers had only appeared after the snow goddess had reincarnated, it was still shocking enough. The person the snow goddess sect took away was Shui Yunlan of the Ice Goddess Hall. Shui Yunlan is the only person who knows where my sister is. Now that she's in the hands of the snow goddess sect, their intentions are obvious. The snow goddess is in danger at all times. Ancestor Lan, since you already know the truth of the matter, I would like to know if your Sky Crane clan will choose to stand by and watch, or will you lend a hand? Since he had already made himself clear, Jianqin no longer tried to hide anything. He directly asked about the Tianhe clan stance. Chapter 3065. Ancestor Lan said nothing. This time, she remained silent for a very long time. She seemed to be staring at the cauldron before her, but her thoughts had already drifted away. Fortunately, her attainments in pill refinement had already reached an extremely profound level. Otherwise, it would be extremely easy for her to fail if she became distracted during the refinement process. Jianqin did not say anything either. Instead, he stood behind Ancestor Lan and waited quietly. He also knew that this matter was of great importance to the Tianhe clan. If it was not handled properly, it would lead to great trouble for the Tianhe clan, or even a disaster. After all, they were going up against the Snow Sect. With how powerful the Snow Sect was, the Tianhe clan was definitely not their opponent. If they thought deeper, no one knew whether the Snow Sect's actions were their own or related to the Flame Reverend. If the Snow Sect sided with the Flame Reverend as well, it would be terrifying. For a moment, the room fell into a strange silence. Neither Jianqin nor Ancestor Lan said anything. Only the unique sound of the blue flames roaring resounded in the room. After a very long time, Ancestor Lan's voice rang out again. "Do you know what it means for our Tianhe clan if we interfere in this matter?" Ancestor Lan clearly had no intention of letting Jianqin answer. She continued, "It's completely detrimental to our Tianhe clan. No matter what the outcome is in the end, our Tinha clan will be in great trouble. Firstly, it's the Snow Sect. With the strength of our Tinha clan, we have no chance of victory if we clash with the Snow Sect. If we lose this time, our Tinha clan will definitely suffer great losses. We might even follow in the footsteps of the Hoofing clan. Even if we emerge victorious in the end and successfully save Shui Yunlan, protecting where the Snow Goddess is hiding, our Tinha clan will still be severely punished by the Snow Goddess in the end. Ancestor Lan sighed deeply when she reached there. She was filled with mixed feelings. You may be the Snow Goddess' younger brother, and you've probably spent a very long time with her reincarnation in the past. But you have to understand that before you regain your memories, Goddess Shui is not the real Goddess Shui. She is just another person. Ancestor Lan turned his head and stared at Jianqin with a complicated gaze. He slowly said, "Therefore, you have no idea what kind of personality the real Snow Goddess has. However, I can tell you clearly that the real Goddess Shui and the sister in your heart are two completely different people. If our Tianhe clan interferes with the matters of the Snow Goddess without permission, both the Snow Goddess and the Ice Goddess will view it as a great challenge to their dignity. We will definitely be severely punished by the Ice Goddess and the Snow Goddess. Not to mention our Tianhe clan, I'm afraid that even your younger brother, who is considered the reincarnation of the Snow Goddess in name, would not be spared." When Jianqin heard Lan Zu's words, Jianqin felt very uncomfortable. He took a deep breath and said with a determined gaze, "No matter what happens to my second sister in the future, and no matter how she looks at me in the future, none of this can stop me, because in my heart, she will always be my second sister. She is one of the people closest to me. Even if I end up being consigned to eternal damnation, I will definitely save her. Senior Ancestor Lan, I also know that this is definitely not a good thing for the Tianhe clan. Since Ancestor Lan is unwilling to interfere, I won't force you. Farewell." Jianqin was very decisive. He turned around and walked out. However, his heart became extremely heavy. The Tianhe clan was unwilling to interfere due to their many misgivings. Who else could help him save his second sister? At that moment, he thought quickly. He thought of Tai Ta from the God Clan, the Radiant Saint Hall, and the mysterious man who had suddenly appeared in the Tianyuan family and called himself Dao Jiu. However, without any exception, he rejected all of them. The God Clan had already declined. They had already lost their former glory as the greatest clan in the Saints' world. The chances of them dealing with an organization as great as the Snow Sect were just too slim. As for the Radiant Saint Hall, they were completely reliant on their protector swords. Without the protector swords, the Radiant Saint Hall would be nothing in the eyes of the Snow Sect. Going to the Radiant Saint Hall under such circumstances was no different from harming them. Moreover, he was only confident in getting Han Xian Donglin Yen Shui, and by you out of the protectors of the Radiant Saint Hall. In the end, it was Dao Jiu from the Dao clan. With the Dao clan's reputation as an Archean clan, they could indeed intimidate the Snow Sect. However, due to the Primeval Divine Hall, he had no idea whether he would become enemies with the Dao clan in the future. As a result, it was not appropriate for him to go to the Dao clan. Moreover, he still had no idea what Dao Jiu's identity was in the Dao clan, nor did he know whether the medallion Dao Jiu had given him was as intimidating as he had imagined it to be. If you want to save Shui Yunlan from the Snow Sect, you need to be prepared to fend off the Snow Sect. Just our Tianhe clan is nowhere near enough. Just when Jianqin was about to emerge from the alchemy room, the Lan ancestor's voice rang out slowly. Jianqin immediately came to a halt. Joy filled his eyes. "Lan ancestor, you're agreeing to take action?" The Lan ancestor sighed gloomily. "Although doing this will be completely detrimental to our Tianhe clan, there are still some things we have to do. However, there are some things that must be done. The ice pole plain is too chaotic. We need the Snow Goddess to watch over it. Then what if we work with the other peak organizations on the ice pole plain? After all, there are still many people who support the Snow Goddess on the ice pole plain," Jianqin asked. "That's not a good idea. The Lan ancestor directly rejected Jianchen's suggestion. He said, "You've only seen the surface of the people who support the snow goddess and are willing to fight for her. Let alone you. Even I can't tell what the actual situation is. There are indeed some people who are willing to fight for the snow goddess and ice goddess on the ice pole plain, but there are also people who do not wish for the snow goddess to appear, such as the Flame Reverend. The Flame Reverend is scheming for the way of the ice goddess. This is no longer a secret to the higher experts. Even the people of the ice pole plain can think of the reincarnation of the snow goddess. So how can the Flame Reverend not have thought of it? How can he not know that the reincarnation of the snow goddess will be the greatest variable if he wants to scheme for the way of the ice goddess? The Flame Reverend has been scheming for so many years on the ice pole plain. Do you really believe that he hasn't left anything behind to deal with the snow goddess? Who can say for sure whether or not the Flame Reverend has planted spies among the people who seem to be absolutely loyal to the ice goddess Hall? Chapter 3066. Ancestor Lan, are you saying that the Flame Reverend's organization is among the people who support the ice goddess Hall on the surface and are willing to go through fire and water for the ice goddess Hall? Jianchen asked. That's only my guess. There's actually no concrete evidence to prove it. However, if I were the Flame Reverend, I would definitely make careful arrangements and deploy meticulously. After all, conspiracies are extremely important. The slightest carelessness can lead to irreversible consequences, said Ancestor Lan. In other words, not only can't we ask those people for help in dealing with the snow sect, but we can't let the news leak either. Jianchen was stern. If they could not ask for help from other forces on the ice pole plain, how was the Tianhe clan that the Ancestor Lan belonged to supposed to fend off the snow sect? Since the snow sect had captured Shui Yunlan, they would never let her go so easily. As a result, the only way to save Shui Yunlan was to engage in the most intense battle against the snow sect. He could even predict that the snow sect would definitely use all of their strength in the battle this time. This was because the snow sect no longer had a path of retreat. When they made the decision to capture Shui Yunlan, they had already stood against the ice goddess Hall. They had embarked on a path of no return. As a result, the only path before the snow sect was to press forward. Otherwise, when the ice goddess and snow goddess returned in the future, it was obvious what the snow sect would face with the personalities of the ice goddess and snow goddess. I just don't know what the snow sect's actions are. What exactly is the snow sect thinking? Or have they already sided with the Flame Reverend? If that's what they want, then it'll be fine. They won't let the news leak. However, we're the only ones who know this secret aside from the snow sect. So our only opponent is the snow sect. If the snow sect has sided with the Flame Reverend, we won't just be facing the snow sect. At the same time, we'll be facing all the organizations the Flame Reverend has developed on the ice pole plain, said Ancestor Lan. Looks like saving Shui Yunlan from the snow sect won't be as easy as I imagined it to be. Jianchen sighed inside. With Ancestor Lan's analysis, he basically gave up on the idea of uniting with the organizations on the ice pole plain, because once these forces were united, it would be impossible to distinguish between friend and foe. Under such circumstances, it was the easiest to be stabbed in the back. If their strength was strong enough to crush everything, then they naturally wouldn't be afraid of any schemes. But now they were clearly on the weaker side, so they had to be extremely careful. Aren't you related to the heavenly demon religion? If you can get the Empyrean demon lord to take action, that would obviously be for the best. However, I have to tell you something in advance. If you can't find other strong helpers, we won't have any chance of winning against the snow sect. If we don't even have the slightest hope, we won't do anything, Ancestor Lan said. The Empyrean demon lord. Jianchen hesitated. Back in the Empyrean demon prison, he had heard from Chengming that the Empyrean demon lord was doing something extremely important and could not be distracted. Clearly, he would not be able to gain anything by looking for him right now. However, he also understood that he needed to find a supreme expert who could fend off the snow sect's ancestral Master Binyan. Jianqin left the Tianhe clan and hurried along with the laws of space. With a few flashes, he returned to the territory of the Hefeng clan. He had already returned the medallion the Grand Elder had given him, but that did not stop him from moving about in the heavenly demon religion. Very soon, Jianqin met the Grand Elder of the heavenly demon religion at the highest floor of the demon castle again. The Grand Elder was gentle. He looked at Jianqin with a smile and said, "Jianqin, have you come this time because of the Snow Sect?" "That's right. It really is because of the Snow Sect. Grand Elder, may I ask if you can contact the Empyrean Demon Lord?" Jianqin's face was filled with worry. He knew that the Empyrean Demon Saint Master had something important to attend to, yet he still came looking for him without any hesitation. While Jianqin felt helpless about this, he also felt deeply humiliated. However, this matter was related to the life and death of his sister. For the sake of his sister's safety, he had to do it no matter how humiliating it was. "If I really can't find any powerful reinforcements, all I can do is fuse the swords and fight to the death." Jianqin had already prepared himself for the worst-case scenario. His current strength was incomparable to the past, and the sword spirits were constantly recovering. The fusion of the swords was obviously much more powerful than before in his current state. Haha, this old man naturally has a way to contact the master. In fact, not long after you left, this old man had already told the master about you, including the Snow Sect. The Great Elder chuckled. Then what did Senior say? Jianqin's eyes narrowed as his breathing immediately became ragged. Master is indeed occupied with something extremely important, so he can't make the time. However, Master told me to tell you that if you come across any danger from the Snow Sect, you can go find the Martial Soul Lineage, said the Grand Elder. Find the Martial Soul Lineage? How can the Martial Soul Lineage deal with a colossus like the Snow Sect with their strength? Jianqin frowned. He understood the strength of the Martial Soul Lineage extremely well, let alone the Snow Sect that possessed a 7th Heavenly Layer Grand Prime. The Martial Soul Lineage would even need to use their full strength against a 4th Heavenly Layer Grand Prime. The difference between the 4th Heavenly Layer and the 7th Heavenly Layer was like a chasm. Since Master has said that, he obviously has his reasons. Jianqin, you need to trust Master. Chengming smiled faintly. In his heart, he had an almost blind trust and worship for his master. Thank you, Grand Elder. Jianqin clasped his fist and thanked him before immediately leaving the heavenly demon religion. As soon as he left the heavenly demon religion, Jianqin directly shot off into outer space. He used the laws of space to travel through outer space quickly, stopping extremely far away from the ice pole plane in the end. Afterwards, he used a secret technique to summon the mountain soul of the Martial Soul Mountain. In just a few breaths of time, a huge energy fluctuation suddenly appeared in the void. In the empty void, the shadow of a mountain suddenly appeared, becoming more and more solid. In less than 10 seconds, the mountain soul of the Martial Soul Mountain had crossed an extremely great distance and appeared beside Jianqin. Immediately, a boundless pressure spread out in all directions, sweeping through the starry sky. Fortunately, they were extremely far away from the ice pole plane, or the disturbance from the mountain soul's appearance would have alarmed countless experts. 8th Junior Brother! Su Qi's voice rang out from the mountain soul. Beside her, the 1st Senior Brother Hanzong, the 2nd Senior Brother Chu Jian, the 3rd Senior Brother Yu Chao, the 4th Senior Brother Yun Ziding, the 6th Senior Brother Bai Rafeng, and the 7th Senior Brother Oima were all present, including Jianqin. All 8 successors of the Martial Soul Lineage were present. Chapter 3067. Jianqin sucked in a deep breath and took a step in the air. He immediately vanished, reappearing on the mountain soul of the Martial Soul Mountain. Greetings, seniors. Jianchen clasped his fist and bowed before the 7 of them. For some reason, he experienced a strange feeling when he stood on the mountain sole of the martial Soul Mountain. This feeling immediately calmed down his uneasiness and restlessness from worrying about his sister's safety. The martial Soul Mountain was like an island in the boundless ocean. No matter how violent the storms outside were, no matter how violent the lightning and thunder were, as long as he hid on the island, it would be able to shelter him from the storm no matter how shocking the waves were. It would provide him with a safe and peaceful place. The martial Soul Mountain is the final resting place of the martial soul lineage. Jianchen could not help but think about what his seniors had said to him in the past. Looking at it now, it was not without reason. This was because he felt like that right now. The moment he stood on the mountain soul, he truly did feel like he had returned home. He became peaceful. The laws of space. 8th Junior, I never thought your comprehension of the laws of space would reach such an unbelievable level. The laws of space that Jianchen had unintentionally revealed immediately made Han Zong, Chu Jian, and Yu Chao's eyes narrow in surprise. If I've seen correctly, 8th Junior's comprehension of the laws of space has probably reached the 8th heavenly layer, or even higher. Chu Jian sighed in amazement. What? The 8th heavenly layer of infinite prime? How is that possible? 8th Junior, don't tell me 2nd Senior is telling the truth? Have your comprehension of the laws of space really reached such a profound level? Aoyama's eyes widened as he stared at Jianchen in disbelief. Back in the trial grounds of the Radiant Divine Hall, he and Jianchen were both Divine King. Their strength was not particularly different. However, only a short while had passed. Yet Jianchen's comprehension of the laws of space had already reached the 8th heavenly layer of infinite prime. He was the first to be unable to accept this. Yun Ziding, Su Qi, and Bai Ruffeng stared at Jianchen with shining eyes as well. They were also unable to hide their surprise. Jianchen could not help but smile bitterly as he looked at Aoyama's shocked expression. He said, Senior is right. My comprehension of the laws of space is indeed at the 8th heavenly layer of infinite prime. Aoyama felt like he had suffered a heavy blow after receiving Jianchen's personal acknowledgement. He vomited blood in an extremely exaggerated manner as he cried out, 8th heavenly layer! 8th heavenly layer! Ah, 8th heavenly layer! 8th Junior has actually reached the 8th heavenly layer. How am I supposed to live as your senior brother? No one paid any attention to Aoyama's injustice. At that moment, all of their gazes gathered on Jianchen. The light in Su Qi's eyes flickered. 8th Junior, if I remember correctly, you mainly cultivate the way of the sword. Since your comprehension of the laws of space has reached the 8th heavenly layer, what's your comprehension of the way of the sword? Senior sister, my comprehension of the laws of the sword just happens to surpass the laws of space. It's at the 9th heavenly layer of infinite prime right now, said Jianchen. What? Not only are you an 8th heavenly layer infinite prime with the laws of space, but you've even comprehended the 9th heavenly layer with the laws of the sword? What a monster. 8th Junior, you're a monster. Arg, I don't want to live anymore. I really don't want to live anymore. Aoyama almost teared up from the mental blow. They were at the same level of cultivation in the past, and he had even become an infinite prime first. Why had their difference in strength not only reversed in just a few hundred years, but had even widened? To think that I, Aoyama, have spent the past few hundred years cultivating on the martial Soul Mountain, and I've only just reached the 3rd heavenly layer of infinite prime. But look at 8th Junior. Not only did he not cultivate properly, but he even ran around all day. In the end, his strength increased the fastest. Is there any justice in this? Aoyama wailed out miserably as he lamented the unfairness of the world. 8th Junior, how did you cultivate? Your current level of cultivation has already caught up to me. You're 6th Senior. Bai Ruffing also stared at Jianqin like he was looking at a monster as his heart churned. Hanzong, Chu Jian, and Yu Chao, the three strongest experts of the martial soul lineage, struggled to remain calm. In such a short amount of time, Jianqin's strength had risen to the 9th heavenly layer of infinite prime at an unbelievable rate. The three of them were deeply shocked by this. 9th heavenly layer, infinite prime with the laws of the sword. 8th heavenly layer, infinite prime with the laws of space. Whenever they thought of this, the successors of the martial soul mountain felt like they were dreaming. This was because it was just too unreal. In outer space, the illusionary mountain soul of the martial soul mountain gradually faded away, completely vanishing from the region. The power of the mountain soul had already brought the successors of the martial soul lineage across an extremely great distance in a single instance, arriving on the true martial soul mountain. The martial soul mountain drifted through outer space in an unknown region of the saints' world in its own way. Jianqin's group of 8 sat around a stone table on the martial soul mountain. They asked Jianqin all sorts of things with great interest. All of them had the same question in their minds as to how Jianqin had reached the 9th heavenly layer in such a short amount of time. They were extremely curious. Seniors, let's talk about my experiences in the past few years in detail another time, because I have even more important matters to attend to right now. Jianqin gradually became stern. He knew that time was tight, so he did not want to waste any more time. He directly said, "To be honest, I've summoned you this time because I've come across something troublesome." "Junior brother, just tell us what you've come across. Our martial soul lineage is united, so your matters are our matters as well." "There's no need for you to be so courteous before us," said the 5th senior sister, Suchi. "All right, I'll be frank then. I have a friend on the ice pole plain who has been captured by the people of the Snow Sect. I want to save my friend," Jianqin said directly. "The Snow Sect? The greatest organization on the ice pole plain?" Chu Jian's eyes narrowed when he heard that. He said, "It's not a big problem. The Snow Sect is powerful, but our martial soul lineage is rather renowned in the saints' world. Let's go with you to the Snow Sect and negotiate with the upper echelon of the Snow Sect so that they can release your friend." "Yeah, that's a good idea. Although our martial soul lineage is nowhere close to the Snow Sect in terms of strength, we still possess some power. The Snow Sect won't provoke a large organization for no reason over some small matters." Yu Chao nodded in agreement. "No, it won't be that simple. It's impossible for the Snow Sect to release people because they've captured people from the Ice Goddess Hall." Afterwards, Jianqin told the members of the martial soul lineage everything that had happened without hiding anything. He even told them about his relationship with the Snow Goddess. "8th junior brother, are you joking? The Snow Goddess of the Ice Goddess Hall is your second sister?" Aoyama's eyes widened. He was even more shocked than before. Although he did not belong to the same generation as the 2 ice goddesses, he had heard a lot about the supreme figures of the ice pole plain. As a result, he knew extremely well just what kind of great figure the Snow Goddess of the Ice Goddess Hall was. 5th senior sister, Su Qi, also covered her mouth. Her heart was also in turmoil. The Snow Goddess of the Ice Goddess was actually his 8th junior brother sister? This was just too absurd. It was just too unbelievable. It was not just Aoyama and Su Qi. Even Hanzong, Chu Jian, Yu Chao, Yun Ziding, and Bai Rufeng were shocked when they heard about Jianqin's relationship with the Snow Goddess. Chapter 3068. However, after recovering from their shock, the successors gathered on the martial soul mountain all realized the severity of the matter. Afterwards, they all became stern. "In other words, we can't negotiate with the Snow Sect to release Shui Yunlan, and the Snow Sect's ultimate objective for kidnapping Shui Yunlan must be the Snow Goddess," Hanzong said sternly. "If that's the case, what can we do? The Snow Sect is the greatest sect on the ice pole plain. They're so powerful that our martial soul lineage can't contend against them. How are we supposed to save Shui Yunlan?" Yu Chao frowned deeply as well. The strength of the Snow sect made the successors of the martial soul lineage feel pressured. We can't just watch as 8th Junior Brothers family is harmed by the Snow sect and do nothing about it, Su Qi said. Su Qi spoke as well. She glanced past Chu Jian, Yu Chao, and Hanzong before continuing. Seniors, you're the oldest in our martial soul lineage. Can you think of a way to help your junior? Hearing this, Chu Jian sighed softly and said, This matter can be said to be simple, but it can also be said to be difficult. In the end, the reason is that we are too weak. We are not strong enough to fight against the Snow sect, even if we use the martial spirit array. If we possess the strength to fend off the Snow sect, everything would be simple. That's right. If we want to save 8th Junior Brothers family, we need to find a supreme expert who can fend off the Snow sect, Hanzong added. The light in his eyes flickered with some hesitation and hesitation. Afterwards, he sighed gently and said, I need to leave for now. Juniors, let's activate the teleportation power of the mountain soul again. You're leaving at a time like this? And you want to activate the power of the mountain soul. First senior brother, do you have an idea? The people of the martial soul lineage all looked at Hanzong. I'll try, Hanzong said gently. At that moment, his expression became rather mixed. Before long, the successors of the martial soul lineage worked together and activated the power of the mountain soul again. Using the power of the mountain soul, they crossed an unknown distance in a single instant and appeared in an unknown region of space. What is this place? Aoyama looked around as he stood on the illusionary mountain soul of the martial soul mountain. In this dark and cold starry sky, there was nothing but the twinkling stars and meteorites in the distance. The entire starry sky was deathly silent. Wait for me here, I'm going out for a while. With that, Hanzong left the mountain soul with a single step. With his cultivation as a 9th heavenly layer chaotic prime, he vanished into the depths of the sea of stars with a few flashes. No one knew where he went. The 7 other successors of the martial soul mountain stood on the mountain soul as they looked at one another in doubt. Hanzong left the region of space where the mountain soul resided all by himself. He flew through the sea of stars at high speed. Who knew how long he had crossed? But a vast continent floating in space finally appeared before him. Hanzong, on the other hand, approached the continent in a straight line. To no surprise, this was the Delight Plain, one of the 49 great plains of the Saints' world. There was an invincible organization that basically everyone knew about on the Delight Plain, and that was the Cloud Surge Empire. The Cloud Surge Empire was so powerful that all the peak organizations on the Delight Plain feared it. There were even rumors that even if all the organizations on the Delight Plain worked together, they would not be the Cloud Surge Empire's opponent. The reason why the Cloud Surge Empire was so powerful was not because of how many Grand Primes they possessed. The main reason was because the Cloud Surge Empire possessed a supreme figure who could dominate the entire Delight Plain. The Rain Abyss. The Rain Abyss was so powerful that even if all the Grand Primes on the Delight Plain worked together, they would not be able to fend her off. It was exactly because of the Rain Abyss that the Cloud Surge Empire had become an invincible organization on the Delight Plain. No one dared to provoke her. At this moment, a figure appeared silently on the border of the Cloud Surge Empire. He hovered several thousand meters in the air as he stared at the lofty, dragon-like fortress from very far away. The figure was the first senior brother of the martial soul lineage, Hanzong. At this moment, Hanzong's emotions fluctuated. He stared at the fortress that belonged to the Cloud Surge Empire as his eyes were filled with unprecedented mixed feelings. There was also endless emotion as well as melancholy. He hovered there silently, staring at the fortress from very far away. He refused to take a step forward. It was as if he was unwilling to set foot in the territory of the Cloud Surge Empire for various reasons. Time passed silently. In the blink of an eye, an incense stick had passed. As Hanzong had concealed all of his presence, He seemed to have completely vanished into the surroundings. As a result, even though the cultivators in and out of the fortress moved about, none of them discovered him. Sigh. At this moment, Han Zong let out a long sigh. The sigh seemed to be filled with many mixed feelings, as well as the deep helplessness and bitterness he currently felt. I know I can't hide from you. I need your help with something, Han Zong said gently to the empty space. He didn't recover at all, but in a daze, the atmosphere of this world seemed to have suddenly frozen. The wind had stopped. The extremely active origin energy that filled the world seemed to have calmed down. This part of the world, and even the entire world, became incomparably peaceful at this moment. However, this peace did not last for long before it was broken by a drizzle that quietly fell. Rain began to fall between heaven and earth. The rain was very light, but it was like the spring rain that nourished the earth and revived all living things. The moment the rain appeared, many experts who stood at the peak of their respective continents in different regions of the Delight continent opened their eyes. Their gazes were either filled with shock or astonishment as they stared at the world. They could not help but exclaim in surprise, "It's the Rain Abyss. This is the Rain Abyss's Taoist art. What has happened? Why has the Rain Abyss been alarmed?" This was because all the experts had discovered that the pitter-patter of rain had already covered the entire region of the Delight Prefecture. Han Zong remained where he was outside the imperial capital of the Cloud Surge Empire. He did not try to stop the rain. The rain gradually soaked through his clothes. He only stared at the tall woman who had appeared before him with mixed feelings and endless emotions. He had no idea when she had appeared. The woman seemed to be in her 30s. Even though she was approaching middle age, she was still charming and beautiful. She had appeared silently. She gave off no presence at all. She seemed like both a mortal and a ghost. It was as if she had fused with the entire world. The woman was the supreme expert of the Delight Plane, the Rain Abyss. The Rain Abyss said nothing. Her eyes that seemed to contain the waves landed on Han Zong. She stared at Han Zong quietly for a while before sighing gently. "Is the empire behind me, this land, really so terrifying to you? You'd rather wait here bitterly than take a step forward." Chapter 3069. Han Zhang's expression became even more mixed when he heard the Rain Abyss mocking words. There seemed to be some indescribable bitterness as well. He sighed gently as mixed feelings filled his heart. "Why do you say that? Why do you say that?" The Rain Abyss suddenly interrupted Han Zong. Some sharpness and coldness appeared in her mixed eyes. She sneered, "You came to find me, but you didn't come to visit me. Instead, you waited here silently for me to come out and see you personally? It looks like your status has indeed become different after becoming the greatest of the martial soul lineage. Now, you've become even greater than before. Your esteemed status as the greatest member of the martial soul lineage has made you feel disdain to step into this tiny empire." The Rain Abyss glanced back at the Cloud Surge Empire behind her. Her gaze seemed to be able to pierce through space, allowing her to see all of the territory of the greatest organization on the Delight Plane. Afterwards, she sighed gently and said, "Yeah, in the eyes of your martial soul lineage, it's a boundless sea of stars. The land behind me is indeed a little too small. It really isn't enough for you. Fuyu, why do you have to mock me like this? You should know that since I'm a successor of the martial soul lineage, I naturally shoulder a special mission. Our martial soul lineage naturally has a place where we belong," said Han Zong. He looked at the Rain Abyss with some guilt. "In the past, I didn't know that the power I possessed was martial soul force, nor did I know about the existence of the martial soul lineage. However, only when I learned about the martial soul mountain and learned about the many histories of the martial soul lineage did I truly understand something. As it turns out, the martial soul mountain is the final home of our martial soul lineage. Now that I'm the first senior brother of the martial soul lineage, I have even more reason to set an example. Protecting the martial soul lineage is my responsibility. Continuing the martial soul lineage is my mission. Until the day I die, is the martial soul lineage really that important to you? The Rain Abbess suddenly became emotional. Tears suddenly flickered in her cold eyes. She said, "Do you still remember? In the past, you were still a child without parents in the lower world. You relied on the food given to you by the elders in the village. You never had a meal, and you were always hungry. You were all skin and bones. As for me, at that time I was just a spirit fish that had just gained intelligence in the vast sea. Although I had already gained intelligence at that time, I had no cultivation base and did not know how to cultivate. In the end, due to an accident, I was caught by a fisherman who went out to sea and brought to the little village you were in." The Rain Abbess said slowly. Tears flickered in her eyes as her emotions became extremely mixed. There was reminiscence, and emotion. Han Zhang's expression became melancholic when he heard that. He seemed to flip open an ancient memory that had been buried in his heart for a very long time. He let out a long sigh and lamented. "Of course I remember these matters. I even remember the appearance of the old man who pulled you ashore, clearly. At that time I called him Grandpa Hu. When I was very young, Grandpa Hu was very unfriendly to me because I often broke into his house to steal food. There was even one time when I accidentally broke the fishing net that he hung out to dry. Actually, I didn't want to do that either. It's just that my parents passed away early and I was still young back then. I couldn't make a living on my own, so when I was hungry, I could only sneak into other people's houses to find food out of instinct. Otherwise, I would rely on the charity of the villagers to eat some leftovers. I still remember the first time I saw you. You were still a shining golden spirit fish. You had just been caught by Grandpa Hu from the sea, and you were struggling desperately in Grandpa Hu's fishing net. Back then, you were so pitiful, so helpless. I even knew what your fate was going to be. Everyone in the village recognized that it was an extremely rare spiritual fish. Afterwards, the entire village was extremely happy. They all discussed how to deal with the spiritual fish. Some people said that the spiritual fish possessed spiritual chi. If you ate the spiritual fish, it would bring great benefits to your body. Some people said that they could sell the spiritual fish to the important people in the city in exchange for money to improve the lives of all the villagers. In the end, when everyone in the village was dreaming of a beautiful future because of the appearance of the spirit fish, I once again climbed into Grandpa Hu's house and stole the spirit fish. Then I brought it to the seaside and set it free. Back then, I had never thought that my actions would infuriate the entire village. The uncles and aunts in the village did not spare me because of my young age. In the end, they beat me up viciously and chased me out of the village mercilessly. The village was near the sea. It was extremely remote. There was no one within a radius of several hundred kilometers. I limped out of the village and finally fainted from hunger by the sea. Originally, after I fainted, I would never wake up again. In the end, because of you, I did not die. I still remember that you used to expend a lot of effort to dive into the depths of the sea. Then, you would spray some spiritual liquid on my wounds. It was this spiritual liquid that healed my injuries. At that time, I did not have the ability to catch fish alone. Those fish were always so nimble. Not only was I clumsy, but my movements were also slow. Naturally, I could not catch a single fish. I did not even have the ability to feed myself. In the end, it was still you who saved me. At that time, you still had the body of a spiritual fish. Every day, you would catch some small sea fish from the sea and throw them in front of me. You let me eat these small sea fish to satisfy my hunger. I did not starve to death by the sea. I gradually grew up. I already had the ability to catch fish and be self-reliant. However, at that time, I was still just a mortal. However, the one who truly changed my fate was still you. At that time, you found me with a jade slip in your mouth and gave it to me. It was because of this jade slip that my fate was completely changed. Because this jade slip contains a cultivation technique. Through cultivation, I became stronger and stronger. In the end, step by step, I transformed from a weak mortal to an expert capable of summoning the wind and summoning the rain. After I became stronger, you brought me into the sea. At the bottom of the sea, in an extremely hidden place, we found a palace. At that time, it was indeed a palace to my knowledge. But now I know that it's actually a divine temple. It was also you who brought me into the temple and allowed me to obtain many things in the temple. You also allowed me to personally witness you becoming a human. Afterwards, we cultivated together and traveled the world together. Chapter 3070. The Rain Abbess' eyes were filled with yearning as well. She stared at Hunzong and said, "Ever since then, we've been inseparable. If there are enemies, we'll challenge them together. If there are dangers, we'll face them together. If there are fortuitous encounters, we'll enjoy them together. Even if there is death, we'll live together, die together. Over the countless years, we've weathered countless storms together, weathered countless storms and waves together. We've also walked over the corpses of countless enemies together. Over all these years, we've never quarreled, nor have we had any disagreements. That's because I've always listened to you. If you told me to go east, I wouldn't go west. Only afterwards did I discover that the feelings we forged through countless years of trials and tribulations and trials of life and death are actually so worthless in your eyes. You've actually abandoned this relationship without any hesitation for the sake of the Martial Soul Mountain, for the sake of the successors on the Martial Soul Mountain whom you've never met before, who you don't even know about. Fanyan, is this how you repay me?" The Rain Abbess' eyes were filled with tears as she lamented. Hunzang's emotions were extremely mixed. He felt deep guilt. "Fanyan, I've never forgotten for even a single moment. I grew from a child who had almost starved to death in a small village to where I am today. It's all because of your assistance. However, the heavens don't always follow my wishes. My mission has forced me to make another choice, which is to protect the Martial Soul Mountain and ensure the continuation of the Martial Soul lineage." The Rain Abbess seemed to be deeply provoked by that. A powerful presence suddenly erupted from her, and she roared at Hunzong in grief. "Martial Soul Mountain, Martial Soul Mountain. You only see the Martial Soul Mountain now. If that's the case, piss off back to your Martial Soul Mountain." The Rain Abbess waved her hand, and a gust of wind immediately kicked up. A tremendous amount of energy suddenly surged out, blowing Hunzong far away effortlessly. The Rain Abbess had already vanished. Hunzong stabilized himself several hundred kilometers away. Bitterness filled his face as he said to the empty space, "I know you hate me very much, but there's something that has forced me to come find you shamelessly. Our Martial Soul lineage needs your help." Hunzong did not receive a reply. In reality, he was close to 1,000 kilometers away from the fortress on the border of the Cloud Surge Empire. However, Hunzong continued, "Our Martial Soul lineage will be engaged in a vicious battle with the greatest organization on the Ice Pole Plain, the Snow Sect. The Snow Sect is so powerful that our Martial Soul lineage will definitely lose, so I thought—" Hunzong stopped there. He hesitated slightly as if he had made up his mind. He said, "Whatever. I no longer have the right to ask you to take action. Let's leave this matter to our Martial Soul lineage." Determination filled Hunzang's eyes. With that, he did not stay any longer, turning around and leaving. He left in an extremely decisive and straightforward manner. There was no hesitation in his actions. There was only a sense of determination. Bang! With a thud, Hunzong reappeared as soon as he vanished. He seemed to have collided with an invisible barrier, and he was repelled. The space he stood in had already been sealed up at some point in time. An extremely powerful law of space had locked down the place, turning it into a prison. The Rain Abbess appeared before Hunzong silently. At that moment, her face was pale white and sunken. Even her eyes shone with a threatening light, making her seem extremely terrifying. "What are you doing?" the Rain Abbess asked. She basically gritted her teeth as she stressed every single syllable. Her white hands were clenched tightly as her entire body trembled gently. Clearly, she was extremely furious. In particular, her gaze was so terrifying that it seemed like she wanted to kill someone. She understood Han Zong far too well. She could tell what Han Zong wanted to do from what he said, which immediately ignited the flames of fury in her. She became furious. Is it another successor of your martial soul lineage who has grievances with the Snow Sect, so you're prepared to go to the Snow Sect and die like a moth to a flame? The Rain Abbess' voice was extremely cold. Her voice was filled with undisguised hatred. Our martial soul lineage is a single entity. There's no distinction between you and me. The matters of any successor of the martial soul lineage are the matters of everyone in the martial soul lineage. Any one of their enemies is the hatred of everyone in the martial soul lineage. Han Zong said confidently, Ancestral Master Bingyun of the Snow Sect can take on the 7th heavenly layer. Your martial soul lineage is seeking death, the Rain Abbess said coldly. I know, but I've said it before. Our martial soul lineage is a single entity. We can't just watch anyone die. If it's necessary, we can even stop it. However, we can't stop this because I can already tell that Junior has made up his mind to fight to the death. If that's the case, our martial soul lineage can only assist him with everything we have, said Han Zong. The Rain Abbess said nothing. She only stared at Han Zong without blinking at all. Her fury seemed to have frozen. A while later, the Rain Abbess seemed to lose all her strength. All the presents she had been accumulating around her suddenly vanished. She was lonely and dejected as she took small steps through the air, making her way past Han Zong steadily. She made her way into the distance step by step, disappearing from the Cloud Zurge Empire in the end. Only a voice that seemed to be filled with sorrow and disappointment rang out from outer space. You're the Rain Abbess. You can go. The mountain soul of the martial soul mountain hovered silently in a region of space extremely far away from the Delight Plain. The 7 successors sat on the mountain soul out of boredom as they asked curiously, Oi, 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 what do you think our first senior brother is trying to do? He made us wait here while he vanished. What's going on? Su Chi fiddled with a branch in boredom as she said to the people beside her, Our first senior brother probably knows some supreme expert, and the supreme expert is hiding nearby. Our first senior brother must have gone to invite this supreme expert, Chu Jian guessed. Since our first senior brother knows a supreme expert, why did he hide it from us? That's far too disloyal. Su Chi pouted. She was extremely displeased. That's enough, junior sister. Don't talk about eldest senior brother like that. Maybe eldest senior brother has something he can't say. Or maybe it's because this peerless expert has a reclusive personality and doesn't want more people to know. Anyway, we have to trust our first senior brother. No matter what happens, we have to trust our first senior brother, Yu Chao said seriously. This place is rather close to the Delight Plain. Jianqin's voice suddenly rang out. He compared it to the star map and grasped his location very quickly. The Delight Plain? Don't tell me our first senior brother has gone to the Delight Plain? Aoyama was surprised as he asked subconsciously. Jianqin said nothing. He only stared in the direction of the Delight Plain as the light in his eyes flickered. Probably not. The greatest expert of the Delight Plain, the Rain Abbess, is only a 5th heavenly layer Grand Prime. She might be able to put up a fight against a 6th heavenly layer Grand Prime, but she definitely won't be able to fend off the ice cloud ancestor of the Snow Sect. Bai Rafeng shook his head in denial. With that, a figure suddenly flickered in the distant space. Very soon, Han Zong returned, returning to the mountain soul of the martial soul mountain. First senior brother, where have you gone? Have you already invited powerful reinforcements? The successors of the martial soul lineage all asked as soon as Han Zong returned. Chapter 3071. The 7 other members of the martial soul lineage could not help but look at one another when they saw Han Zhang's clearly abnormal expression. They were all surprised and doubtful. They had known Hanzong for so long, but they had never seen him like that. The 7 successors of the martial soul lineage did not move. They all stared at Hanzong with undisguised concern and worry. Due to Hanzang's expression, the successors who had no idea what was going on began to imagine various bad things. Had the reinforcements failed? Had they been mocked or insulted? Or did the other party offer some kind of unreasonable condition? In short, the change in Hanzang's expression when he returned without a doubt sent a bad signal to the successors of the martial soul lineage. As they worried for Hanzong, they could not help but become furious out of self-preservation. Jianchen glanced past the people of the martial soul lineage and sighed gently. "Seniors, let me deal with the matters of the Snow sect myself. Although the Snow sect is very powerful, I'm not completely helpless against them." "Eighth Junior, what are you talking about?" Hanzong immediately turned around and glared at Jianchen when he heard that. However, he also sensed that something was wrong with the expressions of the others. He immediately realized that his reaction had caused a misunderstanding. Hanzong sucked in a deep breath and slowly calmed his mixed feelings. He said, "Don't let your thoughts run wild. Don't worry, I've already invited an expert who can keep the ancestral master Bingyun busy." "If that's the case, why do you still seem so unhappy, first senior brother?" "It made us think that eldest senior brother had been wronged and made us worry for a while," Su Chi said with an indignant expression. "Hee, you're worrying too much. I've just thought of some matters of the past, so my mind has been affected slightly. Let's go. Activate the power of the mountain soul." "We'll go to the ice pole plain right now," said Hanzong. "Go right now. First senior brother, where's the expert you invited? Isn't he coming with us?" "Don't worry about her. She'll come back." Hanzong was unwilling to talk about this matter. Afterwards, he and the other members of the martial soul lineage immediately controlled the power of the mountain soul to cross through the distant space and return to the martial soul mountain. After returning to the martial soul mountain, they immediately condensed the power of the mountain soul again and teleported to the ice pole plain. The power of the mountain soul could only guarantee a single round trip. If they wanted to be teleported a second time, they would have to return to the martial soul mountain and condense new power. Under Jinchen's request, the mountain soul of the martial soul mountain did not directly descend on the ice pole plain. Instead, it appeared in space extremely far away from the ice pole plain. Afterwards, Jianchen left the mountain soul alone and went to the ice pole plain. Although Hanzong had already found a supreme expert who could fend off the frozen cloud ancestral master, it was nowhere near enough. This was because there was another 6th heavenly layer grand prime in the Snow sect aside from the Bingyun ancestral master. As a result, he needed to seek out even more reinforcements. Only then would he have greater confidence in suppressing the Snow sect and forcefully rescuing Shui Yunlan from the Snow sect. Very soon, Jianchen appeared on the ice pole plain. Without stopping, he directly flew towards the Tianhe clan. At the same time, the Lan ancestor had already gathered the other 2 ancestors of the Tianhe clan, the Stone ancestor and the Tian ancestor. She told them about how Shui Yunlan had been abducted by the experts of the Snow sect without holding back at all. Now, Shui Yunlan is the only person who knows about the Snow goddess whereabouts. The Snow sect's intentions for suddenly abducting Shui Yunlan are clear. Now, it's time for our Tianhe clan to make a choice. Do we just watch as the Snow goddess reincarnation is poisoned by the Snow sect? Or do we stand up to the Snow sect and save Shui Yunlan from them? The Lan ancestor said emotionlessly. Her beautiful voice was filled with bone-chilling coldness, as if it could freeze the world and turn the ground into frost. The Stone ancestor and the Tian ancestor became extremely stern when they heard that. They remained silent for a very long time before the middle-aged Stone ancestor said sternly, "But contending against the Snow sect with the strength of our Tianhe clan is no different from throwing an egg at a rock. After all, The three of us need to consume the ancestral blood pill and cast the formation together, which is why we have the power to fend off 7th heavenly layer grand primes. On the other hand, the Snow Sect's ancestral master, Bing-Yin, can fend off 7th heavenly layer grand primes all by herself. Moreover, she's not the only one in the Snow Sect. There are 3 other grand primes. With such a great difference in strength, how are we supposed to fend off the Snow Sect? The Tian ancestor nodded in agreement with the Stone ancestor. He said sternly, "That's right. Contending against the Snow Sect with the strength of our Tianhe clan will only lead to our own destruction in the end. Our Tianhe clan is powerless in this matter. In other words, the 2 of you plan on just standing by?" The Lan ancestor asked casually. The Stone ancestor and the Tian ancestor looked at each other before looking at the Lan ancestor. They said, "Xiaolan, what do you mean?" The Lan ancestor looked into the distance and sighed gently. The ice pole plain has been in chaos for long enough. In the past few years, even the Hefeng clan that's on par with us has been destroyed. If we allow the ice pole plain to continue like this, our Tianhe clan will probably follow in the footsteps of the Hefeng clan one day. After all, our Tianhe clan is already facing the threat of the Tian sect. Once the person from the Tian sect breaks through to the 7th heavenly layer, they can launch a large-scale attack at any time. Although our Tianhe clan can fend off 7th heavenly layer experts with the ancestral blood pills refined from the soil of God's blood, we're only borrowing external power. The ancestral blood pills are consumables. Once we lose them, how are we supposed to fend off 7th heavenly layer experts? Our ice pole state really needs a top powerhouse to hold the fort. Now that the reincarnation of Snow Goddess has appeared, this is naturally a wonderful opportunity. Once the Snow Goddess returns, all the chaos in the Ice Pole province will be resolved. Once the Ice Pole province has the Snow Goddess, even if the Sky Sect is given 100 times more courage, they will not dare to offend the Ice Pole province. There's also the Flame Sovereign. He won't be a threat anymore. Both the Stone Ancestor and the Sky Ancestor fell silent when they heard that. They knew that the Blue Ancestor was right. Once the Snow Goddess was in charge of the Ice Pole province, the Ice Pole province, which had been in turmoil for millions of years, would return to its former tranquility. On the other hand, if the Ice Pole plain continued to be in chaos, no one knew what kind of chaos would occur in the Ice Pole plain after the reincarnation of the Snow Goddess was poisoned. None of them could predict whether the Tianhe clan's inheritance would be interrupted in the midst of this chaos. However, when they thought of the power of the Snow Sect, they felt a wave of fear. Chapter 3072. The Stone Ancestor and the Heavenly Ancestor remained silent for a very long time. They seemed to be conflicted inside. During that time, they would exchange glances from time to time and discuss their opinions secretly. In the end, they seemed to have come to a decision. They both looked at the Lan Ancestor and said through gritted teeth, "Xiaolan, you can decide on this matter. We'll listen to you. If you insist on going against the Snow Sect to protect the Snow Goddess, we'll support you." "That's right. Xiaolan, it's up to you whether our Tianhe clan will participate or not." "That's because what you said is very reasonable. Our Ice Pole plain needs one of the Ice and Snow Goddesses to personally watch over it. Only then will it be completely peaceful. Otherwise, let alone our Tianhe clan, even the Snow Sect that's more powerful than us might suddenly cease to exist in a certain era. Just like the Hoofing clan. As a peak organization that has existed for so long, they were still destroyed, just like that," said the Heavenly Ancestor. As soon as he thought about the fate of the Hoofing clan, he sighed inside. He felt like a fox mourning the death of a rabbit. Due to the eccentricity of the Ice Goddess and Snow Goddess, they had no friends or allies in the Saints' world. As a result, no one had come to lend them a helping hand when they were in trouble. However, there were still many local organizations on the Ice Pole plain that were willing to fight for the Ice and Snow Goddesses. They would go through fire and water without hesitation. Clearly, the Tianhe clan was one of them. After the stone ancestor and the heavenly ancestor expressed their opinions, the Lan ancestor fell silent instead. The light in her eyes flickered as if she was weighing things inside. This was because she understood that the decision she made would affect the lives of countless clansmen in the Tianhe clan. It would also affect the fate of the Tianhe clan. If she made a mistake, the Tianhe clan would probably follow in the footsteps of the Hufeng clan very soon. At this moment, the Lan ancestor suddenly thought of Jianqin. She could not help but think, I wonder how he's doing on his side. If he can get the Empyrean Demon Lord to take action, the Empyrean Demon Lord's strength will be more than enough to deal with the Snow Sect. Right now, we just lack a supreme expert who can contend against the Snow Sect's ancestor Bingyun. However, just when she thought up to there, the Lan ancestor's face suddenly changed. She had already sensed that Jianqin had returned to the Tianhe clan after he had left. Stone ancestor, sky ancestor, please wait for a moment. I'll be right back. With that, Ancestor Lan left. On the flying snow peak, one of the 3 ancestral peaks of the Tianhe clan, Jianqin, who had changed his appearance through the mask, met Ancestor Lan once again. Yang Yutian, did you gain anything from your trip? Does the Empyrean Demon Lord agree to take action? Ancestor Lan directly asked when he saw Jianqin. Given Ancestor Lan's consciousness, he could easily cover the entire Ice Pole province and even have the strength to extend beyond the starry sky. However, no one would be so idle as to constantly keep their divine sense outside, because it would cause unnecessary consumption. Therefore, she naturally did not know that Jianqin had already left the Ice Pole province in such a short period of time. The Empyrean Demon Lord is unable to take action. Jianqin shook his head. Ancestor Lan immediately became disappointed when she heard that. If it were not for the Empyrean Demon Lord keeping the Bingyun ancestral master busy, it would have been almost impossible for their Tianhe clan to protect the snow goddess. However, very soon, Ancestor Lan discovered that something was wrong with Jianqin's expression. A gleam of light immediately flashed through her eyes, and she said, "Look at how composed you are. Have you gained something else from your trip this time?" Jianqin smiled faintly and clasped his fist. Ancestor Lan is correct. Although I failed to invite the Empyrean Demon Lord, I managed to invite another powerful helper. There's already an expert who can keep the Bingyun ancestral master busy. Who is it? Ancestor Lan's eyes immediately shone brightly. She looked at Jianqin in disbelief. In the next moment, an extremely powerful consciousness spread out from Ancestor Lan's body. In just an instant, it covered the entire Ice Pole province. After sweeping through the entire Ice Pole province, it immediately pierced through the sky and headed toward the space outside the Ice Pole province. The senses of the Ancestor Land's soul were extremely powerful. It extended to the depths of the sea of stars. In the end, she seemed to sense something. After becoming slightly surprised, all the senses of the soul immediately receded like the tide, having been withdrawn by Ancestor Lan. The martial soul lineage? I've actually discovered traces of the martial soul lineage in the depths of the Sea of Stars. Ancestor Lan stared at Jianqin as the light in her eyes flickered. She said, "You managed to invite the people of the martial soul lineage?" Jianqin was shocked as well. The mountain soul of the martial soul lineage was located extremely far away from the Ice Pole plain. He had never thought that he would fail to fool the senses of the Ancestor Land's soul from such a great distance. Just how powerful was the senses of the Ancestor Land's soul? However, since he had been seen through, there was no point in continuing to hide it. As a result, Jianqin directly admitted it. That's right. The martial soul lineage will directly take part in the rescue this time. The Ancestor Land's gaze became extremely deep. She stared at Jianqin deeply and said, slowly, "The martial soul lineage possesses an extremely special status in the Saints' world. They aren't powerful, but they can appear anywhere in the Saints' world unpredictably with the martial Soul Mountain. As a result, many organizations in the Saints' world are unwilling to offend this special group of people unless they have grievances with them. As for the martial soul lineage, they won't provoke organizations that they can't afford to provoke for no reason, even if they offer great rewards. This is because their lineage is very special. Their need for the various items in the Saints' world is nowhere near as great as other cultivators. They rely on the martial soul mountain the most. As a result, even if you've obtained many rare items in the Dark Star world, it's impossible for you to get the martial soul mountain to help you get them to deal with the snow sect that's far more powerful than them. That's no different from courting death to the martial soul mountain. According to my understanding of the martial soul mountain, the only thing that can make them challenge even more powerful enemies without any regard for their own safety is when the successor of the martial soul lineage is in danger. It's also the only time when all the successors of the martial soul lineage are willing to risk everything to save them. Even if they know that only death awaits them, they will still do it regardless of the consequences. Ancestor Lon paused when he reached there. He sighed deeply. The martial soul lineage is a strange lineage. It's also a lineage that is completely incomprehensible in the eyes of many experts in the Saints' world. This is because the martial soul lineage has been wiped out several times in the history of the Saints' world. However, many of their wipeouts could have been avoided completely, but in the end, they were unable to abandon any of their successors, which led to the end of the legacy being severed. The ancestor land's gaze suddenly became piercing. Yang Yutian, should I call you Jianqin? Or should I continue calling you Yang Yutian? Chapter 3073. Jianchen was not surprised that the Lan ancestor had seen through his identity. This was because the moment the Lan ancestor discovered the martial soul lineage, Jianchen knew he could not keep his identity a secret anymore. Lan ancestor, you better call me Yang Yutian. As for my true identity, I can't reveal it for now due to some special reasons, Jian Wushuang said with a clasped fist. He had always been on guard against the Myriad Bone Guild. He did not know whether the Myriad Bone Guild would try to harm him again, so he had to keep his true identity a secret. This was because as long as his identity was not exposed, Jianqin would forever be a dead person in the eyes of the Myriad Bone Guild. On the other hand, if he was exposed prematurely, who knew what schemes the Myriad Bone Guild would come up with? In particular, when they were about to face off against the Snow Sect, they could not afford to create unnecessary problems and provoke an enemy as powerful as the Myriad Bone Guild for no reason. Jianqin did not completely understand the Myriad Bone Guild, but he had a rough idea. It was an organization that was even more terrifying than the Flame Reverend. I shouldn't be able to hide my true identity for much longer, but even if it's exposed, it has to be after I save Shui Yunlan. Jianqin thought. Paper could not wrap up fire at the end of the day, especially when the martial soul lineage was involved in the battle. It would naturally increase the risk of his identity being exposed. He had already mentally prepared himself for this. Afterwards, Jianqin told the Lan ancestor about the martial soul lineage, inviting another expert to fend off the Bingyun ancestor without holding back at all. The Lan ancestor's furrowed brows finally eased up when he heard that. He relaxed and said, "That's good. That way, the success rate of this operation should be at least 80%. Let's discuss the exact details of the operation next." Afterwards, Jianqin discussed the details of the operation with the Tianhe clan as a representative of the martial soul lineage. After arranging everything, he left the Tianhe clan and made his way to the depths of outer space on the ice pole plane again. He passed on the details of the operation he had discussed with the Lan ancestor to his seniors of the martial soul lineage. The Lan ancestor appeared before the Stone ancestor and Tian ancestor again. He directly said to the two of them, "We already have other powerful reinforcements for the Snow Sect, so I've decided that I'll take part in this operation alone. The two of you will watch over the Tianhe clan." Xiao Lan. The expressions of the Stone ancestor and Tian ancestor changed slightly. But just when they wanted to persuade him, the Lan ancestor interrupted them. Ancestor, Tian, there's no need for you two to say anything about this. The only reason I've taken part in this operation was because I've thought carefully. That's because even if this operation succeeds, we will have interfered with the matters of the snow goddess. With the eccentric temperament of the snow goddess, she will not take our contributions into consideration. In the future, when the snow goddess returns, we will definitely be punished by her. Since we already have enough power to fend off the snow sect, I'll temporarily leave the Tianhe clan and take part in the operation as an independent cultivator. That way, even if the snow goddess returns in the future, she'll only punish me. It won't affect the entire clan. I've already made up my mind. There's no need for you to say anything more. At the same time, the greatest organization on the ice pole plain, the Snow Sect. Within the Snow Sect, there was a place of danger known as the Ice Prison. As soon as the Ice Prison was mentioned, the expressions of all the disciples of the Snow Sect changed. This was because it was a special place specially used to imprison people who had committed heinous crimes. Instead of calling it a prison, it was better to call it a place of punishment. This was because the coldness that filled the ice prison possessed a power of extreme ease and poison. Once the coldness invaded the body, not only would they suffer a heart-gnawing pain, but even their souls would suffer the same torture. Even someone as powerful as a primordial realm expert would find it difficult to endure such torture. In the history of the Snow Sect, there had been many primordial realm experts who had committed heinous crimes. In the end, they had been forcefully tortured to death in the ice prison. Their souls had dispersed, and their souls had been wiped out. At this moment, there was a place in the depths of the ice prison that was enveloped by a powerful barrier. The barrier was so powerful that even regular Grand Primes would struggle to break through it. Inside the barrier was like hell on earth. A shrill voice rang out from within. The voice was sharp, hoarse, and filled with extreme pain that was difficult to describe with words. It was impossible to tell whether the owner of the voice was a man or a woman. It was a woman in white clothes. Her messy hair completely covered her face, making it impossible to see what she was like. Her clothes were tattered as well, revealing a large portion of her smooth skin. However, at this moment, the woman's skin was abnormally pale. If one were to look closely, it would not be difficult to notice that there was a strange chill constantly invading her body in the void. Not only did the cold chi cause great harm to her, but it also made her feel as if she was in hell on earth. As a result, every time the cold chi invaded her body would involuntarily tremble violently, and she would cry out in pain. Her voice was hoarse, as if it had been ripped apart bit by bit as she constantly cried out in pain. As a result, even speaking became an extremely difficult task for her despite her presence as a primordial realm expert. Hee. At this moment, a clear and melodious laughter that carried a hint of seductive charm rang out. Opposite the woman who was being tortured, there was a beautiful woman who looked to be in her 20s and whose looks could topple nations. However, although she possessed a beauty that could captivate the birds and beasts and outshine the moon and flowers, the color that appeared on her face clearly carried a bit of ferocity. It was clearly very incongruous for such a vicious expression to appear on her face. It completely destroyed the beauty that her face should have possessed. The woman let out a bell-like laugh, but iciness filled her eyes. She sneered, "Shui Yunlan, my good sister, stop putting up a tough front. It's best if you tell me where you've hidden the snow goddess. If you tell me in a straightforward manner, you'll be spared some of the torture." At this moment, the woman who had been tortured to the point where she wished she was dead struggled to raise her head. One could vaguely see her beautiful, yet pale face. The woman was Shui Yunlan. Chapter 3074. Wuhan smiled. Her smile was clearly very beautiful, but it was creepy and terrifying. It was enough to make people shiver. "Shui Yunlan, you're still holding on stubbornly even now. However, The soul-devouring pill is about to be refined. You must know the effects of the soul-devouring pill extremely well. Once you ingest it, do you think you'll still be able to keep any of your secrets? Fear filled Shui Yunlan's eyes when she heard about the soul-devouring pill. She immediately wanted to die. She would rather die than expose where the snow goddess was hiding. However, she was completely restrained. All of her powers had been sealed up, so she could not even kill herself. All she could do was glare at Wu Han in extreme hatred as she said resentfully, "Wu Han, you traitor! You'll die a horrible death. Damn it, why didn't you die to the Empyrean demon lord's hands?" "Oh, are you talking about the person behind the heavenly demon religion? He really is extremely powerful, and he's also the only person who dares to openly oppose Sir Yenzun right now. He killed his way into the Ice Goddess Hall all by himself and destroyed all of Sir Yenzun's plans. He killed many of Sir Yenzun's subordinates, and even that bastard Nanpatian did not manage to escape. It's just that I've been blessed by the heavens. When the Empyrean demon lord killed his way into the Ice Goddess Hall, I just happened to be away for some matters. I was not in the Ice Goddess Hall, so I managed to escape. Just like how those who survive a great disaster are bound to have good fortune in the future. Just when I thought the organization left behind by the Yenzun had been destroyed and that I was done for, I never thought I would come across Ancestral Master Bing, Yen of the Snow Sect. It was Ancestral Master Bing, Yen, who gave me new hope. Wu Han slowly crouched down before Shui Yunlan and raised Shui Yunlan's chin gently with a slender finger. Wu Han could not help but smile resplendently as she looked at Shui Yunlan's eyes that were filled with unforgettable hatred. "Shui Yunlan, our good sister in the past, are you very curious as to why someone just happened to be hiding in the shadows when you snuck into the Ice Goddess Hall? I'm guessing that you must be filled with doubt and confusion. That's why the people of the Snow Sect predicted that you would definitely go to the Ice Goddess Hall. Because I was the one who told Ancestral Master Bing Yen all of this. Shui Yunlan, as a good sister who has been with each other for many years, I understand you far too well. From the moment your name disappeared from the Divine King's throne, I already knew that you had returned. Furthermore, I was certain that you would come to the Ice Pole Province very soon. Or rather, you've already arrived at the Ice Pole Province. However, the Ice Goddess Hall was occupied by Senior Yen Zun's people at that time, so you didn't dare to come even if you wanted to. It wasn't until the Heavenly Demon Religion that something happened to the Ice Goddess Hall, causing the Flame Reverence forces to be wiped out in one fell swoop, that you finally had the chance to enter the Ice Goddess Hall. My good sister, it's just a pity that you've underestimated me far too much. I had already predicted that you would do something like this, so after Ancestral Master Bing Yen took me in, I got Ancestral Master Bing Yen to send people into the Ice Goddess Hall ahead of time and wait for you there. Ha ha ha! Wu Han could not help but laugh aloud. Seeing how Shui Yunlan had fallen into her trap in the end, Wu Han felt a great sense of accomplishment. She felt like the world was vast, but everything was under her control. So this was your idea. Wu Han, you've made old man underestimate you. At this moment, an old voice rang out from behind. An old man with a bamboo hat walked over slowly from afar with his hands behind his back. Every step he took seemed to be able to pass through space. His steps were slow, but they were extraordinarily fast. Wu Han immediately dismissed her expression with the arrival of the old man. She turned around and bowed towards the old man. "Greetings, Elder Xia." "You must be joking, Elder Xia. I've only used some petty tricks. How can such lowly methods catch Elder Xia's eye?" The old man glanced at Wu Han deeply before waving his hand. Immediately, a jade bottle flew out. At the same time, he said, "The soul-devouring pill has been refined. Give it to Shui Yunlan. Once she ingests it, she'll completely lose her mind in 10 hours at most. She'll be controlled by the pill." Wu Han grabbed the jade bottle with the soul-devouring pill in her hand. The light in her eyes flickered slightly, and after a moment of hesitation, she said, If it's just the soul-devouring pill, it'll be difficult to unleash its full effects. At the same time, the effects of the soul-devouring pill won't be unleashed quickly. It'll take several hours. As a result, it'll be a perfect combination if the soul-devouring bell is used as well. It'll only take a few seconds for the soul-devouring pill's effects to be unleashed. Don't even think about the soul-devouring bell. It's in the hands of the Frozen Cloud Sect's founding master. Right now, there's only the soul-devouring pill, Elder Xie said coldly. Then let's just take the soul-devouring pill. It'll just take a little more time. Wu Han dared not say anything else. She took out the soul-devouring pill and shoved it into Shui Yunlan's mouth. At the same time, in the Snow Sect outside the ice prison, the protective formation of the Snow Sect was wide open. A rainbow bridge extended from the sky. One end was outside the Snow Sect, and the other end was in the forbidden area of the Snow Sect. At the same time, colorful snowflakes drifted down from the sky. Gentle, heavenly music lingered around as well. The many disciples of the Snow Sect immediately understood from this that an expert of extraordinary status had come to visit the Snow Sect. As a result, the Snow Sect held an extremely grand welcoming ceremony. Two figures were walking on the seven-colored rainbow bridge. They walked directly into the depths of the Snow Sect. One of them was Ancestor Lon of the Sky Crane clan. However, there was a cold mist lingering around her. Only a hazy figure could be seen clearly, and her face could not be seen clearly. Behind Ancestor Lon was an old man. This old man was no stranger to the upper echelons of the Snow Sect, because he was the supreme elder of the Sky Crane clan, Qian Chi. It's Ancestor Lon from the Tianhe clan. But what kind of dog's hit luck did Qian Chi get to follow Ancestor Lon? To be able to follow Ancestor Lon to visit our Snow Sect, it seems like Qian Chi's status in the Tianhe clan has risen quite a bit. Many Snow Sect Grand Elders also appeared on both sides of the Rainbow Bridge. Their expressions were respectful as they bowed to Ancestor Lon, who was standing on the Rainbow Bridge. Out of the corner of their eyes, they kept looking at the old figure behind Ancestor Lon, revealing looks of surprise. Soon, Ancestor Lon and Qian Chi entered the forbidden area of Snow Sect. The two ancestors of Snow Sect were already waiting for them. These two patriarchs were Patriarch Frigid River and Patriarch Black Pole. Ancestor Han, he was a white-haired old woman. She was a fourth heavenly layer Grand Prime. The mysterious ancestor was a burly, middle-aged man. He was a third heavenly layer Grand Prime. Chapter 3075. This seat has personally come to pay a visit to your esteemed sect. Is it just the two of you? Ancestor Lan's gaze swept over Ancestor Hanha and Ancestor Xianji. Although her tone was flat, there was a trace of displeasure in it. Please forgive us, Ancestor Lan. Ancestor Bingyun has been in seclusion for many years, bitterly comprehending the mysteries of the seventh heavens. Unless it's a matter of life and death for the sect, Ancestor Bingyun won't come out. As for Ancestor Bingyun, she's also in seclusion, so there's only the two of us in the Snow Sect for the time being. Ancestor Hanha and Ancestor Xian Ji said apologetically. Their attitudes were very polite. Although the Snow Sect was the greatest power in the Ice Pole province, the two ancestors didn't dare to slight Ancestor Lan of the Tianhe clan in the slightest. They also understood how powerful Ancestor Lan of the Tianhe clan was. Without the ancestral blood pill, Ancestor Lan's strength wasn't any weaker than Ancestor Bingyun's. With the addition of the ancestral blood pill, no one in the Ice Pole province could suppress Ancestor Lan except for Ancestor Bingyun of the Snow Sect. This included the second-ranked Cold Wind Sect. If it weren't for the period of weakness after taking the ancestral blood pill, and the fact that the ancestral blood pill was an external factor to some extent, the Tianhe clan's ranking would be higher than the Cold Wind sects. Although the Cold Wind sect, Tianhe clan, and Huffing clan were clearly ranked, The difference in strength between the three wasn't as great as one might imagine. Even the Snow sect, which was ranked number 1, only had Ancestor Bingyun in charge. That was why the Snow sect's ranking in the Ice Pole province was so solid that no one could shake it. Ancestor Lon was invited to a magnificent hall by the 2 ancestors of the Snow sect. They took out many precious spirit fruits to entertain her. Ancestor Lon didn't touch the spirit fruits on the table. She sat down on a chair and sighed. Alas, this seat came to visit this time to discuss the Tao with Ancestor Bingyun and exchange our insights on the 7th heavens. If Ancestor Bingyun isn't here, then Ancestor Bingyun is also fine. It's just that I didn't expect that I would come at such a bad time. Coincidentally, both patriarchs are in seclusion. Hearing this, Ancestor Frigid River and Ancestor Black Pole looked at each other bitterly. Indeed, Ancestor Lon wanted to discuss the Tao with Ancestral Master Bingyun and Ancestral Master Bingyun. This involved the mysteries of the 7th heavenly layer. As a 4th heavenly layer and a 3rd heavenly layer, they really couldn't say anything. At this moment, He Qianqi, who had been standing beside Ancestor Lon, suddenly thought of something. His expression changed as he cupped his fists towards Ancestor Lon. Ancestor Lon, this old man suddenly remembered that one of the great elders of the Snow sect, Elder Xia, had borrowed an extremely important item from this old man not long ago. Why don't this old man take this opportunity to get it back? Before Ancestor Lon could speak, Ancestor Hanha exclaimed in surprise, "Is there such a thing?" A look of suspicion appeared on his face. The 2 of them were extremely familiar with Old Xia. According to their knowledge, Old Xia had never had any interaction with the Sky Crane clan. Why would he borrow something from He Qianqi of the Sky Crane clan? Ancestor Lon nodded slowly and said, "If that's the case, please call the Great Elder over." "Haha, it's a small matter, it's a small matter. Old Man will send a message to the 4th Elder right now." Even though Ancestor Hanha and Ancestor Xianji were doubtful, they could only agree since Ancestor Lon had spoken. After all, Ancestral Master Bingyun and Ancestral Master Bingyun, who were on equal footing with Ancestor Lon, were not present. Even if they had the backing of the Snow sect, they were not confident enough to face Ancestor Lon with their strength. Moreover, it was just summoning a great elder. This was nothing to the 2 grand primes of the Snow sect. At the same time, a person with a bamboo hat stood with his hands behind his back in the depths of the ice prison of the Snow sect. His eyes hidden under the hat stared at Shui Yunlan, who had consumed the soul-devouring pill. He was waiting for the pill to take effect. At this moment, Old Xia's face changed. With a flip of his hand, a jade talisman immediately appeared in his hand. Afterwards, a message from Ancestor Hanha rang out in his head secretly. "Ancestor Hanha wants to see me?" Old Xia frowned slightly. After a moment of hesitation, he looked at Wu Han and said emotionlessly, "Old Man will be leaving for a while. I'll leave the matters here to you." "Don't worry, Old Xia. Leave Shui Yunlan's secrets to Wu Han." "I definitely won't disappoint Senior Bingyan." Wu Han giggled and swore. Old Xia left the ice prison and appeared in the hall where Ancestor Hanha and Ancestor Xin Ji had received Ancestor Lon very soon. However, Elder Xia had already taken off his bamboo hat when he met the ancestor, revealing a face covered by a bronze mask. His true appearance still couldn't be seen. Yu Yangxie greets Ancestor Hanha and Ancestor Xianji. As soon as he entered the hall, Old Xia immediately bowed politely to the 2 ancestors of the Snow sect. However, he clearly discovered Ancestor Lon of the Tianhe clan as well, so he bowed deeply and said, "Greetings, Ancestor! Are you one of the great elders of the Snow sect, known as Old Xia?" Ancestor Lon raised her eyebrows slightly and asked Old Xia, "That's me," the evil elder said respectfully. He felt extremely flattered to receive such attention from the blue ancestor. Ancestor Lon nodded slightly. After confirming Old Xia's identity, She said nothing more. However, He Qianqi took a step forward from behind her. He stared at old Xia with shining eyes and said sternly, "Old Xia, you borrowed something important from old man recently. Why don't you return it to old man today?" Old Xia frowned slightly when he heard that. He asked in doubt, "He Qianqi, old man has never met you before. So when did he borrow something from you? You must have made a mistake." He Qianqi suddenly came to a realization. He smiled faintly. "You're right, old Xia. I've been confused this time. Old Xia really has never borrowed anything from me." Old Xia let out a sigh of relief when he heard that. For some reason, his heart actually tightened when he heard He Qianqi's words. He experienced an ill omen. Now that he heard He Qianqi admit that he had been mistaken, old Xia let out a long sigh instead. However, what He Qianqi said next shocked Xia Lao, who was not prepared for this at all, because it's not an item at all. It's a person, Shui Yunlan. He Qianqi spoke extremely indifferently, but it was like a bolt from the blue in old Xia's ears. It immediately made old Xia shudder violently. A sliver of panic and shock appeared in his eyes. Even though the panic only appeared in his eyes for a split second, Ancestor Lan and He Qianqi, who had been paying attention to him the entire time, saw it clearly. How is this possible? How is this possible? How does the Tianhe clan know about this? Old Xia's face returned to normal very soon, but his heart churned. He was in a state of turmoil. "Ha ha! I never thought that the Tianhe clan's Ancestor Lan would actually come to my sect in person. It really brings light to my sect's humble dwelling." At this moment, a middle-aged woman's voice sounded from outside. Along with her voice, a woman bathed in snow that filled the sky floated in from outside the hall. The middle-aged woman's arrival immediately made Ancestor Lan's face, which was hidden in the cold mist, become stern. He said gently, "Ancestral Master Bingyan, you finally emerged from seclusion, and I had thought that I would no longer be able to meet you after coming to visit your esteemed sect. I've been cultivating in seclusion for the past few years, so I haven't paid much attention to the outside world. Please forgive me," said Ancestral Master Bingyan. She seemed to be in her 40s, but she was still graceful. It was possible to tell that she must have been an alluring beauty when she was young. Ancestral Master Bingyan leisurely walked before Ancestor Lan and sat down. She waved her hand at old Xia and said, "Yu Yang Xia, there's nothing for you to do here. You can leave." "Yes, Ancestral Master." Old Xia bowed respectfully. "Wait." He Qianqi, who was standing beside Ancestor Lan, immediately spoke out to stop them. At this moment, his old eyes revealed a sharp light that was as sharp as a sword. Even in the presence of the 3 ancestors of the Snow Sect, he did not show the slightest fear. However, before He Qianqi could say anything, Ancestral Master Bingyan's gaze turned cold. "Humph! How can a junior like you meddle when the adults are discussing matters? Ancestor Lan, the person you've brought with you, doesn't know any manners." With that, a cold wind blew in the surroundings. An extremely powerful force formed in the air and mercilessly pressed down on He Qianqi.